Hello, 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 dynamic people of God. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on today on the Relationship Matter, right? A Relationship Matters Summit. And we are in for the marriage edition on today. And I am so excited about what God is getting ready to release through these powerful couples so that we can see God hand at work, right? God hand at work in the lives of his dear beloved children. And so here, the purpose of the Relationship Matter Uncover Series Marriage Edition is to help build stronger marriages within the body of Christ. It is for those who are currently married or those who desire to become married to help them transition the two into one in their marriage, in their ministries, and in the marketplace. So we're talking to married couples who are making it happen and who have tied the knot in their ministry, in their marriage, and in the marketplace, right? I think that, right, but definitely striving for perfection. And so we'll talk about real issues that people are definitely having in their marriages that are causing marriages to be to struggle, right? That are causing purpose to be hindered, and that are keeping the great works that God has called for within the marriage to take place. Listen, so we will identify problems and uncover solutions to bring forth healthy relationships for her. Healthy relationships within marriages. So you guys go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and share this broadcast on your social media platforms in your circle of influence so that those that you know can get in on this powerful conversation as we talk about topics that are included but not limited to overcoming struggles in marriages, ministry, and the marketplace, conflict resolution in marriages when the two don't agree, how to become or be a supportive spouse, tying the knot in marriage, ministry, and the marketplace. In addition to the two becoming one, courtship realities, divorce faith and finance alignment, strategies on how to leave your mother and father and cleave, right, to your spouse, right, to your wife, how to handle high demands of the market, of ministry and the marketplace within marriages, vision planning, positioning, pursuing, and prospering for marriages. So we got quite a few things that we're going to talk about. Listen, if you know someone that's married or desire to be married, go ahead and tag them right now. Go ahead and tag them right now in this live on today, so that someone can be healed. Marriages can be healed. Someone marriage can be healed. Someone marriage can be saved from the ugliness. Well, we know that among believers that the divorce rate is very high, and so even today we're going to take face within marriages, right here, right now, and especially since COVID-19 has happened as we're dealing with this pandemic around the world. So we don't have all the answers, right? But I think that we're definitely going to come forth with some solutions that could definitely help in some form, shape, or fashion. And at least begin to have the conversation started, right? So that we can begin the road of recovery, the road to healthy, thriving marriages, so that in the body of Christ, that we can begin to exemplify what marriages should look like, right? As we exemplify Christ's marriage to the church. Amen. In the name of Jesus, glory to God. Let me go ahead and introduce myself because I haven't got that out. And then we're going to, I am going to, amen, glory to God. I'm seeing you done. I'm not sure if you are hearing or seeing here. But as we bring forth, so I am Dr. Deranche Zorn. I am your kingdom strategist, here to build strategies so that you may birth and expand in your dreams, your goals, your destiny. I help business ministries and individuals with practical solutions so they can increase their market reach and their income potential. I am the founder of in Divine Order Restoration Ministries, where we're God, one life, one body, one nation at a time. A wonderful couple, our first couple for the evening. Listen, I'm going to give you just my perspective of dynamic couple. This dynamic couple. Listen, I had the opportunity of meeting this beautiful wife, Jaquita, right? I met her through her husband. And I met her through him because he was promoting his wife. He was pushing what God had placed on the inside of her, right? And so he inboxed me about having her on one of the shows that I was doing, as she had released her book, I Am Pretty, right? And it was just absolutely amazing just to see this husband, right, pushing the message that God had placed inside of his wife so that it could be spread abroad in the world, being that helping hand that she needed, right, and that she needs, so that what God has placed inside of her can reach the masses. And so I just absolutely love that about Daniel. Right? It's just absolutely amazing. Every time I see him, I'm seeing him, and I don't even know what Daniel do himself. Right? Outside of push Jaquita. So he's going to even have to let me bring me in a little bit in his world, because I really don't know outside of him being that supporter of his wife. And I'm sure, right, that there are some things and some mantles and stuff that he holds even himself. But at the end of the day, you better believe I love it that he is just, in the forefront, being being that cheerleader for what God has placed on the inside of her. So I just absolutely love it. So yes, men, we need you to help push, help us birth, help us expand, and what it is that God has placed inside of us as we support and do the same thing inside of you. So welcome, Daniel and Jaquita Johnson. My God, to Relationship Matter Marriage Series. Bless the both of you. Amen. Could you tell us a little bit about yourselves and say hello to the family?
Well, first of all, my name is Daniel Johnson. I'm here with my lovely wife, Jaquita Zachary Johnson. It's pronounced Jaquita. For those that don't know, Jaquita. And basically, we both helped run her brand. It's not necessarily her I Am Pretty, but that's her bestseller, I Am Pretty book, which encourages women and girls that you are pretty on the inside and outside, and you don't have to put others down. And we've had great responses from that. We just going to different venues, speaking to different groups of girls and women, and it's just taken us far, and we've we've been able to expand that brand into many different things, like I Am Pretty workbook, which is headed to your home in a few days. Um,
Activity.
an activity book, also to just doing pretty parties and just empowerment. If you need any of those services, feel free to go to our website www.jaquita.com. That's www.jequita.com.
Well, as he said, I'm Jaquita Zachary Johnson. Okay. Daniel actually is a pre-K teacher. Okay. I know she want to know about what you do. He's a pre-K teacher, believe it or not. And so he works for a private Christian daycare. And I am also in education. I'm a behavior intervention specialist, and I work for our county. And so that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Working with children, encouraging children. No, we don't have any. We have lots of nieces and nephews, but none of our own at this time. And that's just a little bit about us on our day-to-day.
I absolutely love it. But even as, Daniel was going on, I said, there he go, right?
There you go.
Promoting. He's promoting. He's just the Just the example. Listen, he is the billboard for that brand, and I just absolutely love it. Listen, your marketing is on point, and know that, Mr. Daniel,
Thank
as well. But I just absolutely love it. So you guys are teachers. In addition, you guys you move in empowerment activities, workshop, conferences, and things of that nature as well. And Daniel, I just absolutely love what you said. Look, I help push her brand. So I want to have questions or a question or what have you, that when it comes, when you would speak to another brother, just brother to brother, kind of like right now, who have a wife that have a vision, right? What would you say to him to help to encourage him to help push her?
Well, I just encourage him, just make sure that the way that you put her on a pedestal, do the same thing for her business and put it on a pedestal. Make that her platform. No, don't ever make it about yourself, and just continue to put her just on top. And always just put it out there. Say what she does, do this, do that. If she's talented in a certain area, and just delve into those areas that she's talented in, because talent, I would say, is revenue. Those are revenue streams. So if she's good at this, then that's another revenue that we're reaping, and then we get to give back. And once we give, we're gonna always receive. That's just how our God is. So just continue, I just can tell them, just continue to just build her up, promote her, just as much as you just talk about her. Never make it about you per se, but step back of yourself and push more of herself.
Amen.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love that. Push her, bring her message to the forefront, wash her with the word, right? Wash her, present her, right? Or to present her faultless, without a wrinkle, without a spot. Look, present her, right, to the world. So I just absolutely love that. So, Jaquita, question: when you begin to get this vision from God and your brand, and give me the title of your full brand, right? Because it's beyond. I heard Daniel. He said, "Listen, it's beyond. I'm pretty. It's a bigger brand at hand."
You know what? It's just Jaquita Zachary Johnson. We do have a business project firm, but that's the umbrella. And so
Okay.
just me, Jaquita Zachary Johnson, and that's it. I do have, logo for myself, but that's it. Just me, just like Oprah's Oprah. I'm just Jaquita Zachary Johnson.
Okay, gotcha. No problem. So, question: when you begin to paint the vision, so when God gave you the vision, right? So just like when Mary got pregnant, right, with Jesus, and so when you begin to get the vision and begin to communicate the vision, or got ready to communicate the vision to your husband Daniel, what was that like for you?
Well, I just kind of told him what I wanted to do, and like he said, put it on a pedestal. That's how he is with me. Like literally, he caters to me. He really does. And so just whatever I'm doing, he get involved in it. And like I was telling you earlier, I don't mind him getting involved, but sometimes it's like, okay, Dan, if you're going to represent me the whole thing, the right way, professionalism and all of that. So I get little emails here, little text messages there, and it's like, what is this about? So he tries, but that's just kind of the way he is. And so I just kind of sat down with him and told him, and he just kind of ran with it. And he is on Instagram and social media more than I am. I'm like, okay, somebody just emailed me. What are you saying to these people? So my thing is all about how it's being presented, because I would not attack anybody on Instagram on a message. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. So, but that's just kind of how he is. And I get good response from that. And I just told him what I was doing, and he just run with it. That's just anything. But like I said, he normally just kind of caters to me anyway. So whatever I have going on, he kind of get involved in it.
I absolutely love that he's involved and he's engaged in what it is that God has given unto you and what He's placed on the inside of you. And so, even with that, when you were saying, listen, that's how it works. When the two becomes one, one person don't hold it all. And what one have, or what one does not have, what one weakness is, the other one is strength. And so we capitalize, right? In marriages, you capitalize off each other's strength and weaknesses. And so, or areas, opportunities to grow and develop. And you make it work for the greater good, right? I heard Dad, he said, listen, I understand that what's in her, that it's going to bring forth the revenue, right? That God has called forth in our family. And so instead of being a hindrance into my own family finances, right? Why not just be a part of what it is that God has called for us to do? And that is so powerful, because many people don't understand whether it is you're supporting your husband in his vision, or a husband supporting their wife in their vision. At the end of the day, it's you all vision. And that's what I love about it, because what God gave you, He became a one and a part of that. And He said, look, let me find my lane, right?
Yeah.
And let me move in my lane, that I know that I will be a greater work. I will be a great asset behind her brand and behind the ministry that God has called forth in her.
I'm sorry, I must be honest. Like, if it was up to me, we would probably have no sales. I'd probably give stuff away. I was like, well, they're not coming over here talking. He is a pusher, okay? And I'm not. It's like, okay, well, they come to the table. If they call me, they call me, but not him. Because I'm just kind of a laid-back type of person. And so, honestly, you're right. Where I lack, even though I know, I have something to give and everything, but I'm not going to push. I don't like to be pushed. So I'm not a pusher, and that's him. And I really appreciate, because a lot of husbands cannot step back and allow their wife to shine. They want to be the one shining. But he is an amazing support system for me. He does push me out there. He does allow me to shine, and he's right. He put me on a pedestal, and he see my value. And he wants other people to see my value. And I appreciate that about him, even though I harass him. It's like, leave them people alone. Don't. It's okay. That's just me and my personality. I'm just not a pusher. But he is definitely.
And I love it, because he's like, listen, it's my job to let you shine. It's my job. It's my responsibility to put you out there, so that people can see the light that God has called forth in you. And again, it's taking that ownership of, because many people, or many marriages, they don't see it's us.
Yeah.
Right? It is not just her vision. It is not just his vision. It's our vision, and how we bring it all together, so that it all works for the greater good, and not just for our household, but also for many other lives and things of that nature. I also believe in, and I'm gonna, as Daniel, because I understand you said he value what's there, but Daniel, even with valuing Jaquita and what's in her as well, how do you see it as an impact within society?
Well, I see it as an impact as, let's say that she can have her own team, but I'm the team. I consider myself the team. I'm BA, I'm Hannibal, I'm Face, and I'm the whole shebang. So the thing is that we save money, but I'm able to do what I can as far as economically. It helps us. So therefore, I'm able to,
How can my gift impact the world? Is what she asked. Like, what do I have to give that can impact the world?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Thank you. All right. So,
He thinking about that money. You see that?
Right. I was gonna say something about that. Go ahead. He said, "I'm the money man." He is the money man. We're about this paper. I was just looking at this dollar right here. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, no. As far as her impact in the world, I think that she has a lot to give. I think that we're gonna have our own TV show. You're gonna have your own TV show too. But yeah, I think that we're going to just impact, just be able to get calls from pastors and preachers and apostles, just to go out and speak,
About what?
speak about empowerment, speak about love, marriage, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, all that stuff. And
So what do I say about it?
huh?
What do I say about all of that?
Well, you're gonna say good stuff.
I'm saying, what do I give to people when I go? That's my impact. What am I doing? And what am I saying to these people?
How she's helping
You're
other
saying
people.
some good stuff.
What? That's what she's asking.
Okay, she's saying some good stuff. I mean, it's not limited to just any one thing. It's a lot of good stuff. I mean, I can go on. I can go on to a lot of spiel and stuff like that. But she has a lot to give. She has a lot.
I'm gonna be quiet. I probed enough. That's it.
Okay. Well,
No problem, Daniel. Listen, I understand. Listen, see, when you I can understand one another, look, you begin to know, what to do and how to do it, who need to say what, who don't, because you already know. We know. But Daniel is like, listen, we're not only making yes, we're making an economic impact within our lives and also in the lives of others. But I also just believe that you push her because you know the value that she brings in the community. You know the value that she brings to the globe. And I want to say something else to you while you prophesying over there. Amen. Glory to God. See, I just inhabited a whole entire TV network.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
It's happening, right?
Amen.
Glory to God. So this like hot off the press.
Amen.
It's going to be coming out about it soon for people to get on the network as well. So it is going down. So thank you so much. Glory to God. So we bless God for that. Just with it, even with the confirmation. So with that, listen, we know that marriage is just, the two come from two separate lives, come from two separate places and destinations.
Yes.
And with that, it comes with a lot, right? With values, cultures, and things of that nature.
That's true.
So with that, and when engaging into a marriage, so we know that it wasn't all peaches and cream. So do y'all want to share with the people, something that may have transpired, but you guys was able to work it out? Because marriages, people are having issues, problems are rising, and they need to know, listen, it's real, it's other people out here, real people having real issues, but have real solutions, right? To these issues that you're having. So the issues that you're having, that they are not something that cannot be overcome. It's just a matter about bringing forth the solution and coming into that place of oneness as well.
Well, one thing for me, I know, was involved in singles ministries and all of that. And so when I got married, I think I had this perception, and maybe they did tell us about how hard marriage was and how much work it was, but maybe I was just kind of infatuated because I had this Cinderella syndrome, and they lived happily ever after, right? We don't talk about bills. You don't see Cinderella talking about bills. You don't see her talking about clothes on the floor. Those types of things. And it makes it work because the two are now becoming one. And so just for me, just getting over the fact that, hey, everything is not going to be always peaches and cream. It's not. That marriage is work. Relationships are work. And so just the respect, value, and so something that may seem small to me, like, damn, when you come in the house, take your shoes off, and then if you do not take your shoes off, at this point, I feel disrespected because that's something that's important to me. That's something that I value. That's something that I ask you not to do. And so just kind of little small things like that, for me, little things become big things, especially when it talks about respect. Pick this up, put that, because it makes my life easier. We got too much going on, and I need my house clean because I need peace, right? Which may be like, for him, well, I'll get it, but not right now. And for me, I can't get that peace until you kind of get it. So those are some of the small things that we had to go through. I didn't really ask him how deep, I can go, but it's work. Marriage is a lot of work. We've had to overcome a whole lot. in our marriage. Even now, we've only been married 8 years in September. And just, just a lot. Just our backgrounds, culture, church culture. He came from a different church situation than I did. And so even now, just still working through those things. Obama was president when we got married, and now you have Trump. And it's just like, I didn't realize you had these values and these views, and I don't know about this. And so we've had to work through a whole lot of those things because that's important to me. And so how you see things politically and morally, that has a lot of impact on how I see you. And so that's just kind of some of the things without delving in too much, giving out, because I ain't asked for permission. But just know marriage is a lot of work. It's going to take some forgiveness, compromise, love, of course, prayer. And it's work, but it's worth it. It's worth it. How about for you? What's something we had to overcome that you feel like you can share?
Well, you kind of touched on it. I mean,
that was for me. What about for you? What have I done that you felt like you had to?
No, you haven't done really much. Because
don't go there. He trying like I'm perfect, and I'm not, and he already know that. And that's another problem. That's a whole nother problem. He don't see problems. It's just like, oh no, that's not happening. Well, then did you pay the bill? Oh, that's okay. No. So look, he's like, no, don't talk about that, girl. Listen, that bill payment, and I'm just gonna be honest. So I will let that. Then okay, the money's in the bank. Then here we go. It's due on the 3rd. So the 10th, I'm getting phone calls like, damn, what? I thought you, because he's the one that handles the day-to-day as it relates to, okay, this bill is paid, that bill is paid, And I remember one time our lights got cut off, and I'm like, the money is in there. What's the problem? Oh, don't worry about it. And it was a big deal. I've never had my lights cut off, And so for me, that was a big deal. And you, just the way he tapping me to run shake him, I'll be quiet. But for me, it's like, that doesn't make sense. I got too much going on in life. I can't control this and that. And honestly, I still do call my mother-in-law sometimes because she can tame him even when I cannot. And so, it's not as much as it was when we first got married. But listen, she would get stuff done. And, and she would say, well, Jaquita, he's not the best at that. And then, well, you know what? I'll tell her, excuse me, she asked me a question. So I will tell her, listen, mother-in-law, if I got to do all this, I might as well be single because I have a partner. And if you expect me to work the business, work my 9 to 5, do all, I can do that by myself. So we had to have that conversation, get more involved and pay all this extra money. I get mad. We got to pay extra money because he got stuff late. And I don't necessarily feel like I need to take it over because he's slipping at it. I'm not doing that. You're going to do the right thing. And if I have to do it, why are we together? So that's just some of the things. Yeah, I've gotten beat on my leg enough, so I'm going to be quiet.
No, but I know, I'm sure. But let me say this. Because many women, and Daniel, you are absolutely awesome. You are amazing. I just wanted to know that. You are amazing. You're wonderful, right? And none of us walk in places of perfection. But I want to say is that most women out of the control factor, right? That they would have quickly taken over. And I like the fact that you would, just let him walk through the process. Let him go through the process. And hopefully you let him go through the process without beating up on him, right? That much.
Listen, I'm the one that get hurt in the process because it's like, I'm not going to take it over. I'm not going to do that. However, in the midst of you learning how to do, or not even learning because he know how to do it, it's just, once again, for me, that respect, knowing that it's due, go ahead and pay it. You can't, it got to be paid. We need lights. So just go, if the money is there, just do it. So that's been like the procrastination for me. I would call it procrastination, but just not a sense of urgency about stuff that bothers me. So in the midst of all of that and him understanding urgency and what's important, I've had to, go without stuff because I'm not doing it. I'm not. So yeah.
But that also gives you. I see that as you're allowing him to be strengthened,
Yes.
right? Because many wives have became mothers.
I can't. I need a husband, not a son. I can't.
Many wives have become mothers, and so even with that, Daniel, if I can ask you a question about it, since Jaquita is perfect,
right.
So if we can ask a question, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. So how does that process? Because many people, and we got wives, where it's vice versa. Where wives who are the manager of the finances, and sometimes things just slip through the cracks, or what have you. And so, but how does that as an individual with someone with Jaquita not just overpowering or taking over, what it is that you guys agreed upon in the marriage? How does that help empower you? Because that has to be a place of empowerment there as well.
Well, I guess I take it as through her, the Holy Spirit is speaking to her, which is speaking to me. So it's just like it's that finger is pointing. It's like, yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Because God's gonna do what He's gonna do. So just make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. Because that the consequence can be, there can be a consequence behind that. So just make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, I just love it. I see that as, we all have our we always doing, I'm always doing this SWOT analysis, right? So we all got our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities to grow, those threats, things that threaten us as in growth and development, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have a wife that's there to help, in places of opportunities to grow, that's absolutely amazing. Just as, you help in those places where she just don't have the time, the capacity, or whatever to do, right? And so you step in and you make it happen as well. And then taking those places of opportunities to grow, I'm saying places of opportunities to grow, and utilizing them for that growth and development, so that the whole, right? So that the whole can benefit. And so I love that. That's absolutely amazing, because you have you have marriages that are going through that right now. You have marriages where people are literally divorcing behind such things, as well. So even with that, with those type of things, what are people who are dealing with that, now? What are some things? And I want to hear from you, Daniel. What are some things or advice that you could bring to the table? Speak to a couple who may be struggling right now in that particular in that capacity, because we know that there's a solution for everything, and divorce is not the solution. Right? So what is something that you would empower a couple that may be dealing with the same situation, and that can give them some guidance and some directions?
Well, just first of all, take everything into prayer. Take everything to prayer. Always pray about it. Never allow a conversation to go further than where it needs to, where it's negative, and then you find yourself on the couch, or she's sleeping upstairs, you sleeping downstairs. Making sure that you always take things to prayer. Never going to bed angry. You want to never go to bed angry, or just be angry throughout the day. Also, just have constant communication, and just know that if there's something that's a pet peeve, whether it's whether she does something or I do something, if it's a pet peeve, and I'm just gonna say honest, most of the time it is me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, America. Most of the time it's me. Um, just making sure that I remind myself that if I'm not doing something and it ticks her off, she's not happy. But I'm the one that wants to make her happy, or I should do it because it needs to be done. And this is not a representation of her. It's not a representation of me. It's not a representation of God. So just making sure that if wherever I'm lacking, making sure that I'm first not. It's not a disrespect to God. It's not a disrespect to her. It's not a disrespect to myself. And making sure that she has her peace, or making sure that I have my peace in a few instances. So, yeah.
So there you are. So in the opportunities and places to grow, where couples can grow, where individual within the marriage can grow. What I'm hearing you say is that communication is the key.
Yes.
In those places. So if you can communicate, I heard you communicate with God, right? Have that communication with God together and have that communication with one another. And I heard, even other things that that you've spoken or hearing what you were saying is that, like bringing in humility, as well where it's needed, bringing that forth as well, so that the relate what needs to take place in the relationship within the marriage, that it could work, right? It could work and it could be sustained. So I absolutely love that as well, because many of times we don't humble ourselves before the hand of God, and we don't humble ourselves among one another as well. I mean, a lot of men within a marriage is do what I say, right? I'm the husband, and I have the final say. So just period. So a question was asked: How, Jaquita, how do you support um, Daniel's endeavors?
Well, I support Damon endeavors. First of all, of course, through prayer. I cover him in prayer, pray for him. He don't even realize it, or know how much I pray for him. And so whatever he's doing, I try and not necessarily. I try and give him advice. He's very trusting at times, and so whereas he go hard for me, he doesn't do that necessarily for himself. So I mean, like he speak up for me, I sometimes have to speak up for him. And I feel like I have to speak up for him because he be okay with stuff, and I'm not okay with stuff, certain things. But I'm not going. It's his job and all this kind of stuff. So I try my best to support him. I try and give him advice and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. If he's taking something, because he's also in school for education, if he's taking a test or have a question, I try and help him with his test and his questions. And how else do I support you? I just try and encourage him. You know what I'm saying? Because like he said, he put me up on a pedestal. Oftentimes he doesn't do that for himself. And I'm like, I see greatness in you too. So the same greatness you see in me, I see it in you too. Let me push what you're doing. Why don't you do this? Why don't you go back to school? Why don't you, so I try and push him and encourage him to be the best that he can be and to find his purpose and live out the purpose that God has placed him on this earth. Yes, he's here to support and promote his wife and all that kind of stuff, but he also have a purpose as well. So I try and encourage him to find that and work through it. That's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead, Daniel. What do you have?
No. I'm just gonna put up the okay signs. She hit it.
She hit it.
She hit it out the park.
So great. So what is it like? Because some men don't have that. They don't have the cheerleader, of the wife to support them in places that they don't see. That and support them and push them into things that could help strengthen their growth and development as well. So how do you? I mean, what is your response to that? with having that wife that's there to cheer you on, that wife there to, as you're pushing her, she's pushing you in the same light. How is that for you? And what would you say to that wife? How important it is to have a wife that support the things or the endeavors of her husband?
Well, first of all, I would just tell the man that making sure that you're not putting your wife in that position where she feels that way. Because if you're putting her in that position, 9 times out of 10, she gonna find a way, huh?
Feel what way? How does it feel to have me support you?
Oh, but okay, I guess I was okay. I'm sorry, dear Shay. Okay, see, thank you. But
Teron Shay.
you had answered the question. I was just trying to I was just focused on that particular question.
On that part. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna answer it just this way. Wait a minute.
How does it feel to get my support? And what would you say to those wives or those husbands who don't get that support?
Well, that's what I was trying to. Okay.
Feel what way?
Okay. So
I'm gonna be quiet. I'm sorry, dear. I'm sorry.
Okay. So in this scenario, she helps me when I'm thinking about a conversation, because a lot of times when I think about a question and then if somebody's asking me a question, she can just be right there, just to help me, because I'm just tuned in and be like, okay, how am I going to answer this question? Because you ask
too many at one time.
Right. I throw a whole lot at you.
No, but you also your statement was in depth, so I was just like, okay, I was focused on what
processing it, right?
Yeah, I was processed on what you were saying for that one. I was like, oh, okay.
So you want to ask your question again?
So let's start here, Daniel. How does it feel to have a wife that support your endeavors? Let's start there.
Okay, so if it feels great, she always got as much as I have her back, she has my back. She has my best interests in heart, and she wants to make sure that we're all succeeding, that we're all growing, and we're like strong in that particular way.
Awesome. So the next thing is, what would you say to the wives who have husbands who have endeavors that they're pursuing, or even have endeavors that they probably should pursue? That how can they help? Just looking at your wife and how she assists you and how she help you and how she encourage you, support you in those things. What are some things that you can say to women who need to get on the bandwagon, who need to become the cheerleader of their husbands?
I'll just tell them to whenever they're talking to their husband, give them to them raw. Don't try to sugarcoat it any type of way. Give them to them raw. Give them to it real. Give them to them fierce.
Respectfully, though.
Respectfully. Okay. Now, sometimes we may not take it respectfully. I mean, that's just how we program, But just take it the way she says it. Be calm. Be patient. Listen. And if it comes out a certain way, just say, dear, that came out maybe a little too harsh, maybe a little bit more this, maybe a little bit here, but just listen to her and just write it down too. Make sure you write it down, because sometimes I can't speak for every guy, but for me myself, sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, either let me write this down or just focus on this part and just let me break this down, and then break this down, and then we'll put it all together. So just getting piece by piece. But yeah, just listen to her. Just listen to her. Just be raw and real with your husband, and just make sure that he hears what you have to say.
What? Raw and real about what? The support and what they not support?
Just raw and real about what they need to hear from her, from the wives. So.
Okay. So just being raw and real as being that wife, and you're seeing qualities or things within your husband that he needs, that that will make him better, that will help him in whether ministry, business, personal life, and just being real with him on whatever those things may be, and not in just and not in a nagging way. She said in a loving kind in a loving and respectful way. And then
Oh no,
come with
no. Sometimes it can be a nag, but it's a good nag.
come with
It can be a nag now. Don't
I don't know.
come with solutions. Don't just bring problems to the table, but when a problem comes to the table, have a solution, right? With that as well. And I also heard that women of God as well. He said, listen, sometimes what he have to do, he have to process it in parts. And so, and men may have to, and some men, your husband may have to process it in parts, and it may have to digest, what is being said. So give them also the opportunity and the chance to take what has been said, and with taking what has been said to go and process it in their own time, in their own quiet space, and things of that nature. You don't necessarily have to have an immediate response
Mhm.
um, as well. Give him that moment that he needs to, and even for him to get before the Father as well, in that dialogue and that conversation that you guys may have had as well. And so the other thing, Daniel, that I would like for you to answer and to speak to the men who may have endeavors, right? You may have endeavors for that you they desire to do and things of that nature, and but you're also supporting your wife. How can you grab hold to your endeavors, those things that you need to do, and balance it all with helping support the wife, starting and moving in your endeavors as well, and all the things that you have to do, because there have to be some form of balance. Because I heard that you're in school, so I know you have to have time for schoolwork, you have to have time to market, Jaquita, and you have to have time for planning for your regular 9 to 5 as well.
That's a good question. Hmm. I would say, for me, I can say that it's really not necessarily a balance per se, because there's really not a lot on my plate. My thing is
Right.
my thing is just doing my thing is making sure that I'm focused on the task, but making sure that it's right. Like when she tells me to do, when she asks me to do something that's quote unquote part of her brand, make sure that it's represented well, but make sure that it's done the right way. Now I might not see it the way she sees it, but I got to make sure I take the time and do some research and make sure that I'm doing it the Jaquita way instead of the Daniel way.
He said something very important. His plate, like I have stuff piled on my plate. His plate is very empty, right? Even though he's in school, he work and all that kind of stuff. But his plate's not as full as mine. So he had more time to do stuff. That's why he manages the household stuff, and he does a lot on that phone and a lot on the computer, and so that's how he helps with the branding and all of that. And he said something very key as it relates to he gets stuff done, but that's kind of his mindset. It may be a man thing, I don't know. I'm just talking about my man. It's like it's done. You know what I mean? It may not be right, but see, my mind, I don't have time to go back and do it again. So let's do it right the first time. Whereas his thing, okay, I got it done. Okay, I posted it. Well, Dan, did you see that? Did you see that picture? Did And so that's
Okay,
very.
well, sit down. See, that's biased because if you want to talk about some type of picture, all your pictures.
That's an
Well,
example.
see, all your pictures, you look good.
To you.
Now, you look good.
Deron
But then
Shay.
she want to say that, this wasn't looking right. Oh, this hair particle wasn't in place the way it's supposed to, or
Wait a minute.
this shirt,
Wait a minute.
or you didn't pull this sleeve down the way it's supposed to be. And I was like, well, I mean, it looked good
No,
to me. So
when he gonna take a picture of another picture and try and put your name on it, that's not gonna work. So that's the kind of stuff he does. Like, you couldn't ask me for a picture. You couldn't go on Facebook and get a picture.
I mean,
He took a picture of a picture and tried to send it out there, right? Even the picture he sent you, I wouldn't approve that picture, but he got it done. And it's like, it's done.
It's been posted. And the picture is posted already.
You know what?
I mean,
I
I don't get it. But, hey,
Daniel is so awesome. Listen, Daniel, you're absolutely awesome. I just want you to know that. And just said, listen, he just, his task, in his mind. Listen, I got it done. It is
Right.
done.
Right.
It is completed. In spite of. But he said, listen, at least I got it done. And I love. He said, and this is the other thing, Jaquita, what I'm hearing from Daniel as well, and you said it earlier as well. He said, listen, in his eyes, everything about you is perfected. And so he don't see no flaw. And where you would see flaws, right?
Yeah.
He don't see that because the eye that he beholds for you, that is just so powerful, right? It's so powerful.
That's not life, though. That's
Right,
not.
that is not life. But however,
And that bothers me.
right.
That bothers me.
But however, it may it may not line up with how you want things to be. So then the future is okay, but then you doing the post, to send them the pictures, send them the whatever,
Yeah.
to make it happen. So
Something else on my plate, right? That's something else.
and on your plate.
See? And so my thing is, just don't do it. Because if I got to go back, or it's too much. That's something else that's now on my plate that I didn't ask for. So I could be okay with it, but I can't be okay with it because, people say stuff, and it's just important. It's important. So, to me.
So, right. People do say stuff. And
They do.
They did, and even with that continuous communication, that helps. So I'm sure a year, couple, from now, whatever, he's gonna know how to the perfection of the picture and things like that. So it's all a learning process. So we're learning in this process of relationship, even when you come into a relationship with one another, relationship with business, the relationship in ministry and things of that nature. Yes, everything about you is absolutely beautiful because that's how he sees it and everything of that nature. But in now having, and that's something different of now having to take a step back and see you different, see you in the way that the world may see you. Why? Because he's your husband, right? And so, and making that adjustment, making the adjustment between how he just sees the greatness, the glorious, being that God has created, and not looking and through the and not having a moment to think about how the perception of man, right? How they see or take on things, and sometimes that takes adjustment. And so, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because what we need to understand in relationships that adjustments have to take place. Adjustments. I'm sure, when you guys first got married, this brand wasn't here, right? And so, right. So yeah, it didn't start, it didn't start with this great brand that you have or whatever. So as God revealed, what he needed for you to do, now the both of you are now having to make readjustments to what was brought to the table at first. Right.
Yeah, starting from the bottom. Now we're here.
Okay.
No, no, it's okay.
He was trying to make a joke. How you gonna interrupt her?
No, because I'm just adding on to it.
Go ahead.
No. Because we had to start from the bottom. But I said now that we're here though.
Amen.
So
we praise God.
Yeah. So hey, my whole team here, right? You part of the team,
Oh my God. Stop.
I love Daniel. I love Daniel. So and so now we make these awesome adjustments. We make adjustments, and we also have growing pains. Right?
Amen.
And that's what we do in, that's how it is in marriage. That's how it is in business. That's how it is in ministry. As well in any relationship. The foundational things are the same. And it's about how do we grab hold to this new aspect of the vision,
Mm-hmm.
And how do we begin to make the necessary adjustments? And the truth is that when we get the vision, at least I can speak for me, y'all can let me know if that's the same for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that when I get the vision that God has given unto me, we are what I call sometimes you're building the plane. I mean, you're flying the plane while you're building it.
Yep. That's it.
And so adjustments and transitions and things of that nature happens just like that. And we have to be flexible.
Right.
Is that something good to say as we come together in our relationship with our marriages, that we have to be flexible, you
Definitely
know?
flexible. And you have to be understanding. So we have the YouTube channel. And when I first told Daniel, and he just I already had what I was going to do. I knew what format I was going. And he just kind of ran with it. But he took it in a different direction than I wanted to take it. But it's just kind of like, Dan, that's not what I wanted to do. I appreciate your help, but that's not what I wanted to do. So he overworked me once again, plate stuff on top. So whereas I was doing one interview once a week, he would set up 10 interviews. And I'm like, dang.
Not that many.
7.
Not that many.
Yes. The library, we had 7 people. Anyway, I'm like, Dan, I'm tired. I don't want to smile. I don't want to talk. So I get his excitement, but also you got to listen and understand what your partner is saying. And I get that you run with stuff and, and I love that about him. But to me, it's like, Dan, this is not what I asked for. This is not what I'm seeing. So please listen. Don't take it in another direction. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to go and interview, that's fine. But that's not what I'm hearing. So it's important not only to help, but also to listen and find out what the real needs are and figure out how you can support in whatever the needs are. I asked a question on, I let people ask me questions on Instagram Wednesday, and that was one of the questions a young lady asked. She said, well, how do I get my spouse to support me right now? And so, but honestly, they may think they're supporting you. He may think he's supporting you. Have y'all had that conversation about what your support looks like? What you feel like you need him to do in order to support you? Because for him, just kind of staying out your way may be support for him. Just lifting a box may be what he considers support. So communicating, hey, this is what I need from you. Even if you just need encouragement, baby, you can do this. Baby, don't worry about it. You didn't make money today, but you're going to make money. So just kind of be understanding what that support looks like and what it is, because sometimes it may not be what you need. Like instead of helping, it may be hurting, so that opened up a whole nother communication that we had to have. And now he see, and so he gets it now. But it's like he's talking about nagging, but it was just a constant communication. Like, dang, I know this doesn't make sense to you, but I'm talking about me and my mind and my feelings and my energy level. Maybe you can do it, but that's too much for me right now. So
but I will add, though, that with all my persistence and different avenues that we've done, we have been able to meet people, and we've actually had the chance to develop some type of relationships, like let's say with you, because when I was constant, I was on it. So it's just like, hey, Darashay, I believe in your vision, I believe in your brand. I mean, Darashay, she just this bomb person. She doing amazing things, and she needs to be talking with and dealing with my wife. It was on the pop, and I was on it like that. So I get what you're saying. You're right, and I see it now. I do see it now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. But yeah, it's also good too that those connections and those relationships did form. Because those things were working together for the good. So, and it happened. Praise the Lord.
You're right. And now, I'm going to bring you in, and you guys in a second. But you're right, and it's just about taking those gifts, because both of you are very gifted and talented, and working them together, and in the process of working them together to see how they best work for the community at home. At large. Because Daniel, me and you would be kind of like I would probably be overwhelming Eric, if there was the opposite, I would be just like you. Then it would be like overwhelming. He like line up. We got this to get this, but that's just because it's my nature. Right? It is just it's what's in me, and or what have you. Where Eric was more like Chiquita. He's very laid back, low key. You know, whatever. you know it's like the total opposite. So I get it. I really get it, and I understand it. But it's about the gifts, because being that assertive, right? Being assertive in that manner is needed, right? Because that assertiveness have helped brought much exposure.
Mhm.
I absolutely love it. And that's how we got connected as well. And the things, what God has called, but just having that initiative there, because if it was not there, then guess what? It would have that would have brought much limitation. Where would you be now?
Right.
And so now it's about balancing, and then and I'm bringing back the word balance. How
That's
do we
it.
balance it all where it works for the greater community, right?
Right.
And so also how we balance it all, and then even as the more that you emerge, right, there you emerge here, and even in greater things as well, is that that balance, and everything is shaping right now. Everything is shaping, putting it all together, and it's going to work out to perfection. It's going to get to that place of perfection where Jaquita is not overwhelmed because you don't booked her all over the place, because you like lights, camera, action. Everybody needs to see my beautiful wife and what she's doing. And the beautiful wife is like, listen, I need a break. I need
Exactly.
and with all of this greatness, right? The creator needs, the creator side. So it's all about. So this is, thank you, Lord God. So this is like what I see, and I love it. As Jaquita, you bring forth the fruit. God told us to be fruitful and multiply, right? You bring forth the fruit. The fruit is there, right? And that's that authorship, that writership, that creative part side of you. And he said multiply. Daniel is making that thing multiply, right? And that's where that entrepreneur come in, at take risks, and that things of that nature, to make it happen, to so that it can go across the earth, right? To multiply it across the earth. And then now it just come and balancing. Well, how do we take these great gifts and talents, right? And again, balance it all for the greater good. Where and because I'm sure if Daniel, like me, he got a lot of energy in him, and when he sees something, he's passionate about it. He's gonna make it happen to this fullest capacity, and everybody just get on the train.
Right.
So, and you'll get left off the train.
And I don't mind the train, but plan the train out. Are there steps to getting on this train? And then it's those types of things that makes me work harder. I see the train, but I recognize it's steps to get on the train. You have to have a process. He see the end result being great and dynamic, so here go another ball I got to pick up, because he just see the end result being amazing. But it's that work you got to put into it to make that end result amazing. So I get it.
And that's where you guys that's where the greatness of the capacity of you guys making it happen together, right? Even as he's running with this ball, running with this train, got this train going and moving and things of that nature. Like, wait, we got to make sure the passengers are in place,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
that they can move on the train. Amen. Glory to God. And so that's the greatness about it. But that is where your skill set, and in that particular aspect, helps him, and that's where his skill set helps you as well for the greater whole of what it is that God has called forth in both of you guys. Like, you guys are amazing. Daniel, I love what you do. I love, amen, glory to God, that you are a promoter of her, that you push her like nobody's business. And more and women of God need men of God to push what it is, that their vision, to push what God has given unto them, knowing that it's not just her vision, but it's all of you guys' visions. It's the family, it's the household vision that God has placed on the inside of you. So technically, you guys balance each other out. You just gotta get to that medium point
Right.
in the scale as well. So you guys are amazing. Jaquita, you're amazing as well. You know, I love what you do. I love the brand as well. And I look forward to definitely working with you guys even the more as Daniel continued to push you. And also, you know, beginning to even hear more about Daniel as well, because,
Amen.
you know, I'm hearing, you just don't understand. I'm hearing a lot,
That's
Daniel.
it. Please.
I'm hearing a lot, you
Yeah.
know, here even with you that you can even help other men of God. And not only that, a whole nother business venture, you know, moving in you as well, right? And so some of that energy it can be shifted a little bit.
Correct.
It shifted a little bit
Amen.
as you begin to just, and I'm just encouraging you, go and seek the Father and just ask him, you know, okay, God, you know, you put all this in me. So, you know, what are other avenues that you desire for me to take on so that it can also it increase our brand, right? Increase the glory of God as well as you even begin to pick up ventures. And even with picking up those ventures, listen, Jaquita gonna push you because she's
That's
gonna, you know, give you, you know, even some of those business principle concepts that's gonna have to be necessary to explode your brand, right? As well. But you guys are dynamic. You are amazing. I love the Johnsons, right?
Thank you.
And I look forward to working with you guys as well. I'm going to bring up the Jordans here.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up the Jordans. I thank you guys here with your time and pouring into the people.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Hello.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Wonderful. Let me introduce, we're doing great. Let me introduce the Jordans here. Oh my God. So let me read their bio here real quick. Does say, yes, she's been waiting for the Jordans. She's like, not yet. Amen, glory to God. So here we go. So let me go ahead and read yours. And I know you probably didn't pay attention to Eastern Standard Time. I know you guys on Central Time, and so you showed up on Central Time. That's what it was. But all is good. The Johnsons held us down. They held us down.
Yeah, they did wonderful.
Yeah.
We caught some of it.
They did amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
So let me introduce this power couple. The next power couple that we have, they are Antoine and Nainye Jordan. They both was raised in Detroit, Michigan. They have 5 children, 2 girls and 3 boys. They are both ordained ministers whose passion is helping couples restore their marriage and developing relationships with Christ. They have been married for 22 years, and even though they have been through some peaks and valleys, they remain committed to Christ and their union. They are in love. They are associate ministers at New First Baptist Church in Murray City, Tennessee. They are under the leadership of Bishop Linwood Reed. They enjoy ministering and making an impact in the community. Their prayers is that through their ministry, they'll be used to help other marriages not only survive, but thrive. They are the founders. They are the CEOs of More Ministries. My God, bless you guys. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're delighted to have you guys. So we have you guys' bio. So listen, we're gonna just kind of jump straight in because we do have the subjects. I want to also deal with some of the challenges that's happening in marriage as a panel with you guys. But so let us just jump straight in. Look in your bio because listen, I want to really deal with things that are happening in marriages right here, right now. People are having real issues. They're dealing with real solutions. And so in your bio, listen, you have been through peaks and you have been through valleys. I'm sure more ministries that it was birthed out of, you guys thriving, right? Through various challenges that may have showed up in your marriage, as well. So let us, and with being married for 22 years, oh yeah, you have experience.
Good.
You have experience, right, to help some men of God and women of God out who are struggling in these relationships and in these marriages, who on the verge of like, you know what, let me sign my paperwork
Right.
and get out.
Right.
Been there.
So yeah, so let's talk about it. What is a and you can just bring up and you can talk about something that you're comfortable with. Listen, you do have the right, and I'll make sure I say this in the panel to remain silent. Else against you, okay? But listen, because you do marriage ministry, and I'm sure, right, that marriage ministry kind of births out of some of the things that you guys have went through and that you guys have overcome. So let's talk about something that you guys are comfortable talking about, that families are dealing with, and you want to provide them a solution on how you came over.
Well, I'll get started. I'm usually the one that talks so much, but as we were listening to the Johnsons,
Yeah.
and they were talking about ministry and being pushed and supporting each other, that was a big thing for us. And for one moment, see me? Okay, went out. For one moment, I thought I was going to just say, forget it. Just forget it with ministry, forget it with helping, forget it with everything, because what I realized is I was not clear to him about what I really needed, about what I needed from him in order to make the ministry work. And I don't think he was really clear that even though God gave me the vision and the plan, we have to work it together. And even outside of ministry, I think that people in relationships have to recognize that they are working together. And he said this many years ago to me. He's not the enemy. He is not the enemy. And I think a lot of times I was treating him like, if you do not understand, why am I here? Because look, God has put all of this in me and all of this, and you just acting like you don't understand, And he was like, well, you ain't really telling me nothing. What do you want me to do? And so we had to have a conversation. And I think that is so key in relationships. A lot of things go unsaid. And so it leaves a lot of gray areas. And those gray areas turn into situations. They turn into arguments. They turn into being angry at each other. They start out as molehills and they turn into mountains because communication has not happened. And so that was a major situation a couple of years ago, just not only in our marriage, but in ministry, period. And I'll let him speak to that.
Hello, all. Just to piggyback off what my wife was talking about, a lot of time us as men, we're raised and taught from a biblical principle to just provide. And you figure that once you're just providing, that's everything. And where we end up losing out as men is we hear our wives talk, or, your fiance talk. It's just going in one ear and out the other. You're saying, I'm doing everything. I'm providing the roof over your head. We're providing the vehicle, the transportation, and all of those, small things, but we're not really listening. And what happens is a lot of men have trouble or struggle if their wife is elevated to a certain level, more than them. You know what I mean? It's not that she's greater or you're greater, because God's word says when you marry, you become one. The thing of it is to be able to support each other, like you were saying. And if we don't communicate with each other, she's not a mind reader, I'm not a mind reader. So let's just throw it out there this way. If you want spaghetti on tonight and you don't tell her you want spaghetti on tonight, how's she supposed to know? So when she bring in soft tacos, you mad at everybody in the world, like, what's going on? But you have to learn how to communicate. So when God gives the spouse the vision, or he gives you as the head the vision, what you have to do is come together and pray and ask God to guide you both, because no one is greater than either party inside of the marriage. And that's how a lot of separation come about, because you figure, well, God gave it to me, why you can't hear it? Or vice versa. As a man, God gave it to me, why you just can't listen? Communication is everything. And that's what we fall short at in a lot of relationships.
And be clear.
Yes.
Be clear. You know, sometimes I know I wasn't very clear as to what I needed. It was just, you know, well, help me. Help me what? What do you need? You know, and that's what he said one day. What do you need me to do? And so we sat down as far as ministry was concerned, because he knew I could preach. He knew I could teach. He knew I could pray. So his thing was, you doing that. So what do you need me to do? But what I needed him to do was look at the books. Look at what needs to be paid. What automation am I paying for? Make sure I had the money in the bank so that everything can run smoothly, you know. And then occasionally, more than not, I need you to be on with me. I need people to see us as a united front. I need people to know that, yeah, she is really married. They can trust that we are married. I'm steady getting on lives and stuff talking about this wonderful husband I have, and we've been married 22 years, and oh, he just all that in a bag of chips, and oh, God used him just abundantly, and we had such a transition. And people like, who your husband? Where? I'll never see him. Where he at? You know, we were real good outside of the camera, but when it came to my broadcast, my prayers, it was always only me. And I even had Dr. Harper tell me one time, like, you need to stop saying that y'all, you know, it's y'all together, because nobody ever sees him. And I'm like, well, dang. You know, and so that's another thing that we had to get clear about. We had to communicate and get clear about. So clarity is everything.
So let me say this, because you said something, and yes, there is a united front, and with what we do in marriage and things of that nature, and what God has called. But what if, you know, because some husbands are just not called to be in the forefront, right? They're just not called to be in the forefront, and many wives make a major mistake because we're pushing. Right, we're pushing them in the forefront, and that ain't the position or the place that God has called for. That God has called for them to be. Right. And so a lot of relationships are torn apart because she's saying that, listen, you need to be in the forefront. I need you to be more visible in this way. I need you to be more visible in the eyes of the public.
Mm-hmm.
In the eyes of the public, and it's tearing relationships down.
Right. And that's why
that you call. Go ahead.
Right. And that's why I say you have to be clear. We had to have a conversation. Yeah. And even though he shows up more, I'm still doing the work. I'm still doing the broadcast, but he supports me behind the scenes. He supports me with, baby, what you teaching on today? Okay, let's go over this. Are you clear about this? You doing communion today? So let's make sure that you clearly know what you're introducing and then because of the wonderful internet and, you know, being virtual, I can post pictures, and we, you know, he's more open now to when we're riding in the car, I'm about to do a live, you know, so even though he's not in your face all the time, he's there. I mean, it was a point when you would look at my post, or, you know, even just look at me in ministry and be like, she can't be married. You know, I never see her husband, and that should not be. I'm not saying even Joyce Myers, her husband Dave is not a talker. You know, I've been to some of their conference. He's not a talker, but he gonna run that book table. He gonna run that book table, and he gonna make sure them books, and he gonna suggest to you, that's a good one right there. Shoot, the Holy Spirit really got it right there. You know what I'm saying? So know your place. And it don't have to be behind the camera all the time. I'm a talker. I can go on and on and on, honey. I can pray you on into glory. I can bring you back out. And, you know, he like, baby, 10 minutes is enough. 10 minutes is enough, but just the fact that he's there. Sometimes when I'm having prayer, he not on the camera, but he on the other side of the camera, and he, yes, and that's enough. That's enough.
Awesome. And I'm just bringing that out because, I know some men, right? And not just men, but also some women in vice versa roles where they are, where their spouse is like, listen, that is not my place. And I just support you here. And can we just be comfortable with me supporting you here? Like Dave, can I be comfortable supporting you at the table?
Right.
I don't need to be at the mic. It's okay. Can I support you at the house and serving you, or support you when you get back to the hotel, that I'm making sure that you are served. I'm making sure that I'm making sure that you have your word. I'm pouring into you. That's my time to minister to you, because you just ministered and poured out to people. Can that be enough?
Yes, definitely.
I think it can be enough, Darshay, but what you just said is so key. You have to know your role, and it doesn't make you, as a husband, as a minister, as a father. I don't care how great as a wife you get. God ordained you to be a helpmeet to me. But the flip side of that coin is knowing you as a man, you're still the head, but God may have elevated your wife to a certain position. You got to be humble enough to be able to support her and keep her humble, but keep her drive alive. Because a lot of times the greatest cheerleader a wife can have is a husband. I don't care how much some other guys saying hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. I don't care how much your girlfriend saying hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. When the husband says, baby, that's great, or baby, you messed up here, let's talk about it, pray about it, let's work this together, it makes a difference. That support, that cheerleader makes a big difference. And you become her number one fan. She becomes your number one fan. And it's so important for us as married couples, as those that's potentially wants to get married, to understand who you are in the relationship and whom you are. Wow. She's not greater than me. I'm not greater than her. We're together as one. When we made our vows before God, sure, God may elevate the husband to a certain position. Sure, he may elevate the wife to a certain position. But whatever position, enough to understand it, respect it, but love God in the process of doing it as well.
And you have to understand, it's so important to know your role, because that's how the enemy can come in. That is really, and I see a lot of ministers and bishops and relationships falter because the spouse is not willing to be that biggest cheerleader. They're not willing. They want to just fall back, and it's okay falling back sometimes, but you need to be there for them. You need to be there for them spiritually. You need to be there for them mentally. You need to show up physically sometimes. Because I'm gonna tell you what the enemy does is he'll cause other people come in and be that cheerleader and be that support. And it may start out innocent, but you know how the devil is. He is such a trickster, and he'll make what seemed to be innocent turn into something more. And the thing is how did y'all end up? Well, when I went to preach, he was supporting me. He showed up, and next thing you know, one thing turned into another, because we are emotional beings. We do like support. I don't care who you are. You can be an introvert, extrovert. We like support. We like emotional gratification. And so if I have somebody that's constantly rooting me on, that's constantly showing up every time I have to speak, or every time, even on a live, I had one guy that was showing up on my Periscopes every time, and he was sharing my Periscopes every time. And I believe it was very innocent. But I'm like, wait a minute, brother. Now, you every time, I don't care if I get on at 3 o'clock in the morning, if I get on 1 o'clock in the evening, you are there. Now, that's a little stalkish to me. And so I had to tell him, hey, I can share this to Twitter. I can share this. I appreciate you. And I mean, he still comes to my Periscopes, and, very platonic. And I mean, we've never spoke face to face or nothing, but he backed down because I made a stand. Hey, let me tell you something. I don't need no extra cheerleaders. I don't need no other men. I got a man supporting me. I appreciate you. And then I saw where he started supporting other ministries and putting them out. And that was great. That was great, because at one point he was just singling me out. It was every time I was on, he was available. And I'm like, who is available? When you see my name pop up, you just come on. No, brother, let me tell you something. This is not that type of party. But you can allow the enemy, if I didn't have the support of my husband, honey, that would have made me feel good. Oh, yeah, he show up every time. Right when he see my name, then I look over at my husband, who I know works swing shifts, who I know we deal with 3 children and a dog and got a mother here, who I know is tired sometimes. And I say, look at him, just sitting over there asleep, ain't doing it. But this guy showing up. That's how the enemy comes in. And not just in ministry, even if you don't have a ministry associated with your relationship, just in marriage, period. We have to know each other's love language. We have to be clear about what is expected. I understand that my husband works a job that calls him to be there at different hours of the day, at different shifts during different weeks. And so I cannot be that woman that says, well, he don't never do it. Wait a minute. Now, you got to see it for what it really is and allow yourself to be at peace with that. Sometimes because we looking at Johnny and Susie over there and what they're doing, but we don't know their situation. We don't know how God is dealing with them. We don't know what their schedules are. So I can't compare my relationship with anybody else. We are uniquely each other's. And our situation is unique. What God got for the Jordans, what he put in this man for me, he couldn't even deliver it to nobody else. It's for me. I am his helpmeet. No other woman can satisfy him emotionally, physically, spiritually like I can, because I was made for him. And oftentimes we get into relationships that even we take it into marriages that necessarily weren't put together by God, that were maybe put together by some other outside things, but we pushed to make it work when in reality it was never meant to be.
It's that old cliche when you're trying to fit a square into a round hole and it never worked.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Let me say this, because you made a powerful statement, Antoine. You said, listen, you're still, no matter what position that the wife may have, that God may have elevated her spiritually or in her business or what have you, you're still the head of your household.
Yes.
It takes nothing away from you. And for some reason, a lot of men seem to appear to be stuck right there.
Yes.
Stuck right there in that place. Go ahead.
Yes.
And the reason that is, Dr. Darche, is because of outside influence. It's just that plain and simple. Everything that God created inside a woman elevates us, right? We bring home the goods, she makes a meal. We buy the home, we buy the house, she turns it into a home, and so on and so forth. But so many men are embarrassed about if their wife make more money, or if their wife is more talented, or their wife is more gifted. Listen, God put us in position to be a covering, right? God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and husband. I don't care how you don't have woman without men. God saw that we were lonely and we needed to help meet. I don't care how great she gets. Unless she submits herself or humble herself, I didn't say she's under him in such a way where she's less than. But if she don't submit herself unto him, she'll never reach that plateau, because God pours into us that we can pour into her. Now, when she's single, that's a whole different avenue. But when you're married, as in the military, as my father was in the military, it's a chain of command, right? And God does things in decent and in order. He does things in order, right? He didn't bring Eve first. No disrespect to women at all. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We know that we have our ups and downs, struggle with each other. But with the wife's position is to support her husband, right? Not making her less, but when that vice versa thing is for the husband to support the wife, because like I said earlier, we become one. You can't see Sister Jordan without seeing Brother Jordan. You can't see Brother Jordan without seeing Sister Jordan, right? It ain't no big eyes and little U's. We one, right? It's just like, and some people have struggled with this, and that's a whole nother topic, but bank accounts, right? You got your own bank account, I got my own bank account, right? And we'll come together and get a third bank account. But why? Because you're setting yourself up to where if this doesn't work, I got something on the side, right? You're not pushing all your chips in. So you're already setting yourself up to fail. You when we as a husband have to know and understand our position. You're still the head of the house. I don't care how gifted she is. You're still the head of the house. I don't care how much money she makes. We have some friends that's in Nashville, from back home in Detroit, who moved down here. His wife, if I'm not mistaken, is a nurse practitioner, or she's a doctor. And you know where he works at? Foot Locker. But guess who's still the head of the household? He is. And she affords that to him to understand that they grew that together. As a husband, we see the value in our wife. We gotta keep pouring it to them. If God gives you something, pour into her. Don't tear her down because she can speak greater than you. Don't tear her down because she's smarter than you. Don't tear her down because she can read better than you. Don't tear her down because she can cook better than you. You get around your friends like, man, she make me sick. Why? But then when you get back in the household, you want her to perform in the bedroom. You want her to perform in the house. You want her to keep the house clean. You want her to do all these things, right? But you don't want to pour into her. And we've missed the mark so many times as husbands because of what we listen to with our friends. You know, you may not be as gifted as your friend. Your best friend may be an architect. He may be a doctor. He may be a lawyer. You know what I mean? You may have just a lawn business. But because he's so great and he's telling you, man, if it was me, this is what I'll do. Watch out for people like that. And I'll tell you why. Them same friends be saying, watch out if this was me, this is what I'll do. When you walk out the front door, he coming in the back door. You have to know your position through Jesus Christ and in Jesus Christ. Know who you are and whom you are.
Amen.
Knowing your position in Christ Jesus. So then you feel that's you're confident
Yes.
in what it is that you do. And I love the other concept that you said, listen, that even though she may have been given the vision or
Yes.
what have you, but
Yes.
it is your vision together. Those visions
Yes.
are united. You know,
Yes.
God never give a vision, or he never places a vision in one where it doesn't it's not suitable, right?
Yeah.
For the other, and that is not something that they both have an active role in being
Yes.
a part of, because it's
Yes.
vital the two becomes one. Right?
Yes.
That two becomes one. And so how do we shift mindsets?
That is an excellent question. You want to go ahead, baby?
No, what I was going to say, when you were talking about the two becoming one, and that's when you really let God have his way. When you really let God, because I can remember really weren't letting God lead us, and we were like two separate people in the household. He was doing this, I was doing that. We was meeting up every now and then. It was like two strangers in the house. But when you really let God, when you let him season you, when you listen to the voice of God and actually adhere to what the voice of God is saying, he will make you guys fit together. It amazes me now. We go to the store, we go to the restaurant, we can finish each other's sentence, we know each other's thought. What he don't know, I know. What I don't know, he know. He'll say, that's why you so smart. And then when it come to putting something together, I'm like, baby, that's why you here. That because you got it. And so that mindset changes when you really allow God to be the head. Because I'm telling you, I really think, and this is just me, this is not necessarily biblical, but this is my own opinion, is that most marriages, they could work. Other if you're just dealing with somebody that totally ain't saved, ain't doing nothing, but they could work if people would just change their mindset. Just like he was saying about position. It was a time when I made more money than him, but I'm telling you, I got his check every week. I went to the bank. He didn't even see his check stub. I got it. It came straight to me, and I paid the bills. He trusted me. And I went, paid the bills, got everything together, gave him the rest of his money. Was never an issue. He like, baby, as long as I just got a few dollars put in my pocket, that's not an issue. You the man, you can have as much money as you need in your pocket. Never an issue. Not a table for callers. Not an issue. He makes sure that I have in the account everything that I need. He looks at our budget and he says, oh, Karcher is coming out this week. This is coming out this week. Hey, baby, don't you have this other thing? What day it come out? he makes sure that I have what I need in order that things can go forth, that this house can run efficiently and effectively. That took a mindset change. It was a time when we were operating like two separate households because his mind was shift on one thing. I still got to be with the boys. I'm still out here, I'm doing this. And mine was, it's all about the kids. And I'm going to tell you, even that can be an issue in a marriage. My little boy, he ain't a little boy, he taller than me, but he's 16 years old, and he was just thoroughly upset when his daddy told him, it's me and your mama. She come first. Yeah. It was a me and her before it was y'all. And so I have to make sure mama is happy. He was crushed like, I'm your kid though. I'm the baby boy. He like, yeah, I love you. I like you. But what it all boils down to is what mama need. What she is sets the tone in this house. I come in and out. I do this, I do that. I bring home, but she sets the tone. She makes sure the dinner is together when I get here. She makes sure that y'all are together. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all at the right place at the right time. So when I know that she is taken care of, when I know that the things in this house are taken care of, and that she can function efficiently and effectively, then honey, we all right. We all right. And if you kids got a problem with it, you just better sit down somewhere. You better sit down somewhere because we running this, And so knowing your role, knowing where to place other people in your life.
That's good.
I had to learn that the church, and I love church. I've been in church. Matter of fact, my mother went into labor with me at the church. So I've been at the church my whole life. I accepted Christ at 7 years old. And so the church is just, the building was just ingrained in me. I loved being at church. But I had to realize when I got married that although I love the church and I love the people at the church, and I love my pastor, that I could not spend every waking moment at the church. That I had to take out some time for us, for intimacy, for conversation, for business. I had to take out some things. And at first that was an issue for me because I grew up in a house where my mother went to every retreat. She went to every function. I don't care if it was our birthday. I remember my 16th birthday. Mama had to go. She went to a retreat in Grand Rapids. She was like, all right, baby, I see you. I'm like, Mama, tomorrow my birthday. I see you when I get back. I mean, just gone. I'm like, dang, it is my birthday, but my mother is going to be gone. And so I knew to just keep going to the church. If you keep going to the church, if you keep going to the church. Well, he wasn't into the church like that. And so he wanted to go, but he like, now baby, we can't go to a concert in the evening. We can't go visit family in the evening. They got a second service, a third service, a fourth service. It's like, what, do we get any time when it's just me and you? And I had to wake up. I had to wake up and know everything has a specific place and purpose in my life. And then I finally woke up and decided, hey, we the church. Mm-hmm. We the church. So although I'm going to support my pastor and I'm going to support ministry, and I'm going to be obedient to the call of God, I know that first God is calling me to be a helpmeet to this dude. He that's what he's calling me to. And if I really get that in order, everything else will fall into line. Everything else will fall into line. So you really, even with his friends, he had to put them in their place. Hey, y'all out here trying to get what I got, and the devil trying to trick me. Y'all every day talking about, you got any good women? She got any friends? Because really, the enemy is trying to get what we got, y'all. Yes. The enemy wants to fool us and make us think that what we have is not enough. That, we can't make, because he had me convinced for a while, we're not going to make it. I know the Lord gave me the more ministry, but it's not going to do nothing because he just not going to cooperate. It ain't going to work out. And all during that time, God was really working in our marriage. And I mean, we had so much growth. I mean, I just can't even get into the whole story, but so much growth. And I'm like, Lord, you giving us all of this. You really pouring into our life. You really got people coming, just asking. I mean, people just asking us questions. Can I talk to y'all about this? Y'all such a wonderful couple. Can we stop by the house? We just need to talk. We, help us. I'm like, but he not cooperating. The Lord told me to pump my brakes. Pump your brakes. Be clear to him about what you're doing. Be clear to him about what I'm telling you. And just relax. And when I did that, he just got up one day like, baby, now what you need me to do? I'm like, huh? No, with the ministry, what you need me to do? What time so-and-so? Even with this is something that he just wouldn't normally he like texting me last night. I'm at work together. What we need to be speaking about? What time do we need to be there? Because this is what we do, And so when you get yourself together and you really get in line with the word of God, and sometimes we waiting on God to deal with the other person. I'm gonna just say that one more time for the people way in the back. We waiting on God to work on the other person when it is us that needs some work. I never forget it. I know I'm talking too much, but when he was out there and he was gambling and doing, and I'm, Lord, look at him gambling. He just the devil. He the devil. Girl, I'm talking real bad about him to God who created him. I'm like God don't know all about him. I'm just talking real bad about him. And God stopped me in the middle of my living room. I will never forget it. And he said, what about you? What about you? I'm like, well, God, I'm here. I'm taking care of the kids. I'm trying to do the best I can. I go to church because, I still go to church every service. He said, no, I need you to look at the person in the mirror, because if you would get right, he gonna catch on. But you ain't right. You ain't right. You not being obedient. You ignoring me. You think he ignoring you. Why you keep ignoring me? And I'm telling you, I praise God in that living room like never before. I smelled a sweet smelling Savior in that living room. I mean, I had an experience with God. And I mean, from that day to this one, things have just gotten better. And, we still have some peaks and valleys, but it has been a different mindset. Stop thinking God got to change everybody else. See what he needs to do with you. And then if you become the catalyst of change, then it'll, transpire to everybody else. Got to get everything else together. But I was so focused on him, I thought I was perfect, I guess. I guess.
And see, Darcy, to kind of piggyback off that, I would, our viewers and people that's a part of this broadcast, when you get a chance, turn over to the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, verses 1-8, and it really focuses on time. It's a time and place under the heaven for everyone. What we don't realize is men as women, as we evolve and things change. So to really answer your question, like you were saying, what can we do as men? We have to understand who we are, whose we are, and then we can grow. As a man, do not be ashamed to say you need help. Do not be ashamed to say, or reach out to God, reach out to your pastor, reach out to your brother in Christ, and have a conversation, because you don't know it all. Because when you become a know-it-all, you can't learn, you can't grow, you can't excel. So that's what I would say. As men, we need to learn how to reach out to one another, and especially as married men. We need to talk to other married men, because we can tell each other what we're going through, how to handle XYZ, and we can grow from it.
You make a very good point, because so many people are seeking counsel from people who've never been married, people who have never been married before, people who are married but are not operating or functioning in the Lord, in the word of the Lord, in the will of the Lord as well. And so we're not getting wise counsel. And because we're not getting wise counsel from those who are operating under the spirit of the Holy Ghost, then we end up getting information that is damaging, or that becomes damaging to our marriages. So you want to, even those, you want to make sure that you are getting counsel for those who are married and who is in the Lord. In the
Right.
Lord. You don't want to cancel just from anybody, because
Right.
anybody
Right.
cannot give you that spiritual guidance under the Holy Ghost, right?
Right.
Because that's what's going to make that marriage work and stick together. And so I'd have seen that is one of the things that we have done. We've
Yes.
seen counsel from those who are not experienced, those who are not equipped, and those who are not under the unction of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And that's a catastrophe for your marriage. It's a great
Yes.
catastrophe for your marriage. It was something
Yes.
that I wrote here um, that I wanted to say, but nevertheless, we'll just keep it right along, because I don't know. I don't know what it was. But those are great catastrophes. I'm waiting for the hoping to come up. So one other thing, when it comes to our marriages, or when it comes to marriages, and when you're in that place, right? Because I believe I heard you before. Like, listen, I was at that place where I was ready to sign the paperwork.
Yeah.
Right. I'm ready to let this thing loose and let it go. Right. What prompted you to say, wait a moment. Let me get out of my flesh. I know what it was now. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Let me get out of my flesh and let me get under, right? To humble myself under the hand of God. This is what I'm gonna come back to that in a moment. This is what I was gonna say. I remember when in my first year of marriage, I remember going to the Lord, and I remember telling the Lord, Lord, you do something with this husband that you given me, right? And out of my arrogance, right? And out of arrogance, I would go back before the Lord, because I was seeing change, but I was seeing change in me. And just out of pure arrogance. And I thank God that He didn't just kill me right there. But I would go back before God and I would say, wait a minute, you're doing something wrong. I would tell God, you're doing something wrong, because I see me changing, but He's the one that needs to change.
Wow.
And like I said, just arrogance.
Been there.
The reason for that too, Darcy, is because what I've learned is, let me just say, speak from, I can't speak for all men, but I'll speak from my perspective as a man. We're afraid to lose. We are afraid to lose because of what somebody's going to say. You know what I mean? It's like taking a Ford key and trying to drive a Chevrolet or a Dodge. How are we going to tell the creator, the maker, how to change somebody, right? Instead of changing us, what you were saying about arrogance and the pride, that thing called pride. Oh, it make us look nasty. It can turn some of the most humble Christians or believers in Christ into some nasty people. You know what I mean? You won't see. Let's use our household for example. I open up a little bit of doors. I didn't, because of the way I grew up. My wife was the type of person, when she came in, she laid her clothes on the arm of the chair, her coat on the arm of the chair, where I was the person like looking like, dang, why she can't hang that up? Like I grew up as a Huxtable or something, you know what I mean? Or somebody that was rich. I had to learn how to humble myself and ask God, I need you to search me, oh Lord, because you created her and I can't lash out at her because of the way she is. That's the way you created her, right? I got to learn how to adapt and thank you for who she is, because I'm trying to bestow my image, not what you created, your image of her, but my image of what I want her to be. You know what I mean? And that's where we go wrong. We're trying to take the hand of God and recreate somebody.
Right.
And that's not the way it was designed. God created us in His image and after His likeness, right? Not in our image and after our likeness. So we have to learn how to humble ourselves. We got to remove that arrogance like you were talking about, because when arrogance come in, you ain't hearing nothing. You can't humble yourself. You can't understand. You ain't trying to talk to nobody. This is what I want. This is the way I want it. And then the funny thing about it is, if God gave it the way you want, you still wouldn't like it.
But my thing is this too. Some of those flaws that we see in people in our to help make us better. Really, we see it as an inconvenience, but really he made me better in that, and now I do better. I'm not perfect in it, but you know, when it get too much, I'm like, oh wait, this is too much. I need to put some of this stuff up. Now this is ridiculous, Nainye. You know, and it just helped me see things in another light. And now he get to the point where he you know, he don't even say nothing like, baby, you want me to put this up? It used to be, why don't you put this up? Now it's like, well, baby, you want me to take care of this for you? And I'm like, oh, baby, thank you so much. I'm sorry I left that out there, because now we're both trying to appease each other. We both understand and respect each other. And so I want him to be happy. I want him to be satisfied. He wants me to be happy. He wants me to be satisfied. And so now we can meet in the middle, in a medium, and say, hey baby, what do you need from me today? We're so busy pleasing each other that we don't have time to be selfish. I don't have time to be selfish, because my thing is, what does he need today? How can I help him today? You know, and that is what God is asking us, period. Get up with some praise and some worship, Lord. How can I be of service today? And when we serve our husbands, when we submit to our husbands, and I know women got a real problem with that submit, but I have learned that is, oh my God, that is such a wonderful thing in marriage, when you can submit to somebody. When you can say, baby, I love you, I trust you, I respect you so much. I trust you with my life. I trust you with my heart, that I can submit to you, knowing that you're going to take care of me. I know that you're going to take care of me. And when we do that to God, what type of reward do we get? He pours out the windows of heaven, pours out a blessing we don't have room enough to receive when we humbly submit to him. Well, guess what? This is our representation right here. This is our representation. Our husbands are our representation. We are their helpmeet. So when I can submit to God, it allows me to submit to him, knowing that things are going to work together for our good. So, you know, it's awesome when you do it the right way. And we don't always start out that way. It's a process. It is a process. It has taken us 22 years, but I thank God for the process.
I love that. You said it's a process, right? And you have to be willing to go through the process that God has laid before you. And everybody's process is different, right? And not measure. I love it, Antoine. You said that made in his when you said made in his in the image and the likeness of God. Right? We made it the image of God, and so many times we want out what the world has painted before us. So we want that particular image to come forth versus the image of Christ Jesus, right? And it becomes very damaging, because now we're provoking our viewpoint or our perception of what's been painted to us by television, by our culture, by religion, you know, things of that nature. And so it becomes we begin to bring pressure, unwanted pressure into a relationship, because we want people to conform to the pattern, that the world created. Instead of what God has created, right? And who God has created, and being able to just accept that, you know. And you know, and like I said, I just remember being so arrogant, and God just humbling me in that moment. So many other things to me. Praise your name, Jesus. In that moment, that he allowed me to see the ugliness of me. He allowed me to see my ugliness, you know, in the midst of everything. And so I was humbly grateful for him just showing me, and giving me that opportunity to allow him to continue the work that he needed to do in me.
Amen.
So I pray the Lord for that. Listen, you guys are absolutely amazing. Okay, there you go, the Suttons. And so if you guys can hold back for a second, I'm gonna bring the Suttons on, but I do want to have this conversation, drop a link over to you guys, because I want to deal with and you guys can take a particular issue that you want to deal with here, that I'm going to drop off. There's going to be quite a few of those. Take one that you want to hone in on, and that you think that families are dealing with, or marriages, people are dealing with in their marriages as they are struggling, and especially in this particular time, that you would like to address, through your experience, that you would like to address through even what you've been exposed to with being marriage counselors, as well, with the Hope Ministries. And so you should have it over in your box. Again, we want to thank the Jordans. Listen, these powerful ministers are coming forth, and they're just putting what God has placed upon them on this, what God has put in their marriage to help other individuals, right, as well. The Jordans and the Johnson, we thank God for them.
Amen.
And so we'll see them back. We bring back, or we come up with but we want to go ahead and get the Suttons on here. I'm telling you, we thank God for these amazing couples that God is bringing together from just their specific places and spaces within the world. Hi, Suttons. I am going to introduce you guys. Can you hear me?
We can. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Put Bernard in the. Can he get in the camera? Can he get in the camera?
Come on, Claire.
How you doing?
Right, wonderful. Okay, that's almost better. Yes, you cutting his head off a little bit. I don't know if you see it, but let me go ahead and read your bios and get you guys introduced. Listen, Love in Action Couples Ministry. So who are the Suttons, and what is Love is Action? Bernard and Hope Sutton are two ordained clergy persons who have a dynamic gift of preaching, teaching, and love for God. Hope and Bernard met during the time when both, in separate places yet in the same year, made their declaration that God had called them to preach. While going through the process of ordination, Bernard slipped Hope a note that read, "Do you like me? Yes, no, or maybe." That gesture was very different and plagued that interest of Hope. Sacrifice it to say, the two not only begun to date, they also were ordained together in Atlanta, Georgia, and subsequently exchanged their "I do" in the presence of family and friends.
Maybe they'll cut the
While
TV down.
that part was cute, warm, and fuzzy, the newlyweds almost did not make it. Through transparency, the two talked about, "I did, but now I don't." How they survived the first year of their marriage that nearly ended their relationship, as well as share how to move past resistance, stumbling blocks, and spiritual warfare. Bernard is a senior pastor of Selma African Methodist Episcopal Church, and Hope is the founder of She is Powerful Incorporated. Together, they build ministry, members, and share the message of Jesus Christ. Love in Action Couple Ministry is positioned to offer premarital counsel, workshops, and to present at conferences. At this time, I do want to welcome to Relationship Matter none other than Bernard Sutton with Love in Action Couples Ministry. Thank you guys so much for sharing with us. Hope you are okay. Glory to God. Thank you, Jesus. So, okay, here they go. They're back. Let me pull you back in.
Okay.
Okay. Dynamic man of God. How are you guys doing? I'm so excited to have you guys with us on today.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Listen. Yes. So look, your bios. Look, your bios just almost said it all. So I want to talk about this because many people now. Some people struggle in the first year of marriage, and some people in your 30, and we still struggling. So, but however, I just believe that those struggles were still there at the first year, right? There's the same struggle that they've been dealing with year after year after year after year. So let's talk about, what are some things that you guys overcame during that first year of marriage, that you just had to break through some things.
Yeah, so I guess I'll take that.
Ooh, Lordy.
So yeah, so our first year of marriage, when we got married, right? It was kind of like I would say that both of our sets of families probably knew we were going to get the comments wrong. We were going to marry. However, by the time we got to I do, there was already some preset ideologies, right, that we came to the marriage with. Some roles and responsibilities, right, that we have been taught. Like that's her role, that's his role, and so we tried to, hear from others and bring that into our marriage, and it was almost death on arrival. So what we had to overcome was figuring out our own value system, right? That was going to be helpful for our marriage. And after we could hear God, then we could take the next step forward. So, yeah, we had to get a lot of people out of our ears.
I love that. A lot of people out of your ear gates and bringing God into the marriage, versus other people, even to this day. And we'll talk about that later, because that's the question I want to ask, on the panel. Look, how do you leave your mother, your father cling to your wife, and vice versa, right?
Yeah, that was a whole real struggle because Bernard being an only son, and now going into this marriage, a lot of the roles that he had as a son and provider and all that kind of stuff, it was like things were shifting. Like now your wife is your priority. And so there were some things, right, that he was still tied to. Not that I necessarily wanted him to disconnect, but the reprioritization of our relationship had to happen.
Bernard, you want to address?
Well, probably she's right about that. We always say that we wasn't no spring chickens when we married.
No, we wasn't that old either.
We wasn't that old, and so and she got me, right at the age I said that if I wasn't married, I wasn't gonna marry, Yeah. And so so she came in right there. But I had to prioritize my life, at that age. I think I was about 35, 36. That I had to, I was taking care of my mother, my aunt, these are people that, that had a lot of hands in my life, and I owed them, but they didn't. They loved me as a child, but they didn't want to let me go, and I didn't want to let them go, But at the end of the day, I had to come to realization. Look, Hope's my wife, and so, basically, I'm gonna have to almost like just cut you off. They understood it wasn't, it wasn't no big issue, because they've been married themselves, and so it wasn't really no big issue. But after a while, it took, once we got through that, it was okay.
Awesome. Listen, I hope it's absolutely funny, but listen, I know you guys hold high profile positions, right? You with being a pastor of a church, Hope, I know she put on there the ministry. She is powerful with that being demanding. In addition, I know in your denomination, she's also, if I'm not mistaken, you're the women of a district, right, as well. And so in with that being said, those are high demanding positions that the both of you hold. So with that being said, how do you find the balance? Because I know your position sometimes keep you away, right? And so how do you come to that medium space and place to be okay with the demand of the work of the ministry, but still making sure that you are covering and covered in the marriage?
Well, I think what actually helped Hope and I in ministry is that when we met, we both came in knowing that we both were in ministry, and that's a lot of times a lot of people don't meet like that, and so Hope already had an expectation of me for his ministry, and I already had an expectation of her its ministry. So I think for as ministry was concerned, we both knew what role that we was gonna have to play, and we knew that that we was gonna not stay where we were always. And the higher we got, we knew that we were gonna have to support each other in those roles.
Yeah, so for me, how do we balance out the marriage and the ministry, right? And I would tell you honestly that, again, that's why I like marking time, right? So while we came in different places, but under the same Spirit of God, right? Being called into ministry and going through that process together, going out into ministry, right, as pastors, was a little different. And so I think that while we were prioritizing the call, right, that was on our lives, it was also important for us to recognize that we can put a lot into ministry in terms of the traditional way, but also making sure that we try to have a balance early on with our marriage. But that's not to say that oftentimes the ministry didn't seem to take the higher priority sometimes, right? So that was something else we had to work out.
Okay, awesome. Now, question, because I'm not sure. When you guys got married, where was the inception of She Is Powerful? Well, had it been started, or that was something that was just that got the vision that God gave later in the marriage?
No, so I came with that, right? That was already there. So yeah, I got that when I was single.
Okay.
I got that while I was, working at a nonprofit, and God dropped that on me. So when I met him, I was already doing it, but loosely. And then I remember when in our denomination you get sent out. And so I can remember when he like officially got sent out, I told the Lord that, the Lord told me, kind of put She Is Powerful on the back burner for 3 years to kind of help with the ministry, because that was something very new for us. So I came with it.
Okay, awesome. I absolutely love that. So when you got God told you, pause for the cause, right?
Right.
This baby is still going to go forth, but right now there is something else that I need you to put your time and your energy and effort and supporting the call, supporting the position, the place, and where I am elevating and sending Bernard at this time, and out of humbleness, right? You paused it because, and he gave you the exact information that was necessary so that you can go and support what it is that God had placed inside of your husband. I think that's absolutely powerful, and reason being because most people, right, that would have been like a non-factor. They would have been like, that be the devil.
That was not God.
That was not God.
Yeah.
Pride and things of that nature would definitely cause us to do that. So I absolutely love that. So how important it is to you, and just talk to men and women of God on the importance of having that spousal support, no matter where it is that God has called forth in you.
You want to talk about the support you had, that long drive we had?
Let me say it like this. At the beginning, in the way it happened, because like I got that call like almost like overnight. It really didn't know, because I was comfortable at that time at my home church where I was, And so I got the phone call. But then when I got the phone call, got the appointment, and then life just changed. And when she put her She Is Powerful on the back burner, we had to travel. We almost had to travel almost an hour and a half to get to the church where we were. And when we got there, it was a nice church, but small congregation. And so what really helped was the support. Really was, even though I had preaching experience, but I didn't have the ministration experience because I had a pastor that did all the administration. And so I hope, being an assistant pastor at her home church at that time, it's like everything just fell in place. And I know it took a whole lot for her to stop She Is Powerful at that time, but I guess she understood the support that I needed. And so it's very important to see husband and wives that support each other. And so that's why now, wherever she, sometimes, let me just take that back. Sometimes, it's all dependent on where she has to go preach or whatever engagement. She knows that, I'm going to be there, because she thinks sometimes that I forget, about what she actually has done for me. And really, I haven't, but I think, it's very important for both of us, to really just support each other.
I absolutely love that. And we understand, and that's the other piece, when you have high demanding positions, because both of you guys have high demanding positions, that sometimes it don't afford you the opportunity to be there in the specific places, because you're off somewhere doing an assignment and she's off somewhere doing an assignment, and they're both importantly necessary for what he has as the community at large. Mm-hmm. And being in a place and in a space of maturity and understanding that, because sometimes you have with people, no, I can't take an engagement because my spouse has an engagement or what have you. When it is a God assigned engagement, but however, the flexibility is not there. Mm. The flexibility is not there. The other thing that I want to say here, and just have this question, and we're all familiar with, the Proverbs 31 woman, right? But I want to speak to the mindset of the man that supported that Proverbs 31 woman, who just allowed her to be in the space that God had called her to be in, supported her, right? So that he looked good. Because a lot of women have taken ministry, and even in business, right? Where, things just have had to just shut down, right? Just completely shut down. It ain't revisited. It's not reopened. It's not up for conversation. I mean, and this is just real talk.
Right.
Right. And I'm sure that you guys are probably familiar with people who have been in the same space or is in that space, right now. So, what does it take to be that Proverbs 31 man or husband, right? As well, that king, even as she was talking to her son, listen, this is the type of woman, and this is how, that she should operate in things of that nature, and how she's going to be supported. So Can we talk about that for a moment?
Yeah. I think if I can share this a little bit before you offer your commentary, is that I think when we look at the Psalm 31, right, and a lot of people see that as a model for wisdom and the type of woman and some of those characteristics, right? But I also would say that that's also a very, very high standard, right? That sometimes women are asked to, bring themselves up to that place or maintain that place or expand in that place, right? But I think that when wisdom is the principal thing. He should be able to discern what are my best 31 qualities, right? What is the most needed, right, for where we are and where God has taken us. And I think sometimes with that text, I've had to try to figure out, like, I some of this works for me, but not all of it. But what's expedient and needed right now for the sake of the ministry and our marriage. And to have a woman who is detailed, who has some goals, some vision. Because to me, that's part of what the Proverbs 31 woman is. Like, she's a visionary. She's thinking ahead, not only for her household, but for those who are in her presence, who work for her. She's a woman who is known in the city gate, right? So she has a certain level of influence as well. And I think from that perspective, I think for you, realizing that, again, we were not 19 getting married, right? I came with certain things already that were designed to, assist the marriage and the ministry. But he can talk about, what it means to have found that good thing in his own life, right? You can talk about that.
The good thing and the favor, right?
That part.
To speak on this, if I may go this direction with this, I think or as a man and woman in ministry, husband and wife, and I think you asked a question about the female being up on the pedestal. I think that a man has to be real secure with himself. And if he's not secure with himself, he's in trouble. I know who I am. Hope knows directly who she is. And she knows that God called her and God called me. And so in that note, I think that we have to be secure within ourselves. I'm not here for no battle. I'm not here for no show. We both were called and we have work to do for the kingdom. And, with her, I can't say she's a woman with a plethora of wisdom. She's a planner. She gets on me all the time. I work on instinct. I just do whenever, it's like, no, you got to plan, you got to plan, you got to plan, but sometimes you have to plan. That's, some things you have to plan, which I do understand, some things you just do, but I saw, I'm constantly in that battle. Plan.
It's almost become like an offensive word in our household, right? Yeah.
They become offensive. Can we plan?
Yeah, right.
So, look, I like to do spontaneous things.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, but how does that work?
But you know what? That is good. Listen, because sometimes things happen in life that we just can't plan for. And we got to be able to shift in the moment, right? We got to be able to shift and adjust and make those necessary adjustments that's necessary to make it happen. And planners, and so I can speak for myself, right? Planners, and especially if you are one of those planners who like a stickler for plans.
Yeah.
It needs to be ABC. And so if B gets up, we can't move to C until B happens, right? And sometimes that's just not going to happen. And so that's what those spontaneous people can, pull things together and make things happen and make those adjustments. Some people who are very technical, right? And I'm glad I'm flexible. They're not flexible. They're not flexible at all. But flexibility is needed in life. And we're going to survive this thing.
We're learning that now, right? With coronavirus. I mean, it's about the flexibility. Like, many of us had plans, right? For 2020. We had a whole calendar full of activities and curriculum and, where we're going after this sermon series. But then when the pandemic hit, it's like, that's not appropriate right now. We have to redefine what this second and first half quarter is going to look like. And so I think, to your point, Apostle, it is true. We have to be flexible and understand that, in the grand scheme of things, I think we've learned how to just take a pause and hear God. Like, where do you want us to go? Because, I'm a stickler for saying, we heard what God said, but what is God saying? Right? God said, take your son up and sacrifice, but then God said in that moment, wait, don't do it. So sometimes there's this, we heard what God said and we're on that path, but then there's this, wait a minute, I saw your faithfulness, but I don't need that kind of sacrifice right now. I need for you to, see my handwork. And I think we just learned how to pivot like that. Yeah.
So that's good. I absolutely love it. You know what? I think you guys, I'm gonna bring everybody in at this moment, at this time. Listen, yeah, thank you for the Suttons. Listen, powerful ministry. As well. Listen, if we have marriage, those who are married and you're struggling in your marriage, I'm getting ready to bring everyone up. Listen, y'all reach out to these marriage ministries that is here. We got Love in Action, right? Couples ministries. We have with the Suttons, and we have the More, right? Making our relationship extraordinary, right? With the Jordans. As well, right? They have active marriage ministries that they do. Reach out to them and see what type of support and services that you can find, right? Because we want marriages, to last, right? We want marriages to be, not the Cinderella story, but we want them to be that to death do us part, right? We're trying to annihilate divorce, right, within the churches, right? As well as among the highest rates when it comes to marriages, we want to put those divorce rates on the decline. And not only put them on the decline, we can eradicate this thing when we submit ourselves under our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We can humble ourselves under the hand of God, and He will do the exaltation, in the marriage. His expectation is for the marriage as well. That is one of the other key. What is God's expectation for this marriage and how that is going to work? So listen, I want to talk about some topics. These are these particular things, and you guys can grab whatever topic that you feel most comfortable talking about. But we know that they're happening. I'm going to bring out specific topics that many married couples are facing that have also led to divorce, right? And so, and these topics are addiction, addictions, career and employment issues, conflict within the marriage, lack of interest, the death of a loved one, delusionment, domestic violence, finances, household duties and responsibilities, illness, infertility, infidelity, in-laws, miscarriages, personal difficulties, and pornography, right? So I want to start here with the Jordans. Which one of those topics you want to pick?
Wow, it's a lot of them to choose from. But I I want to just touch on finances. I want to play it safe. I'll let Pastor Sutton and the Lady Sutton touch on that other heavy hitter stuff. And the Johnsons, I let them yeah, I let them. My wife and I just kind of want to speak to finances because I know it was a struggle for us. I would try to. I know Proverbs really talks about money in the Bible, especially I think it's the 13th chapter of Proverbs, right around verse 11. It talks about large sums of money and small sums of money. I don't want to quote the scripture wrong, so forgive me for that. I know where it's at, but finances becomes a problem in marriage because of communication, and what we don't talk about as husbands and as wives is where we're lacking at, and what we end up doing is men, we try to substitute doing other things. At least I can speak from my perspective, where I know this is some time ago, but in 96, you making $7 an hour you know, you're just freshly married and you have a child and you're trying to play the husband role, and you really don't have the finances and you really didn't have the schooling of somebody to tell you about finances. So you either revert to gambling or you revert to drugs, trying to sell drugs on the street, you know. And back in the inner city of Detroit, those were like some of the options that we had. Well, my option I chose was gambling. And what I didn't realize is I was hurting not only me, but my family more by losing, you know, taking that gamble, taking that chance instead of trusting God. And that's what happens when you really don't have a relationship or a foundation with the Lord, or you don't have a solid foundation around you. Most of my peers, we grew up in the streets. You know, I didn't have those friends as, I don't want to use the word churchgoers, but I didn't have those friends who had that foundation of being in the church. You know, somebody that can pull you to the side and say, hey, young man, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to handle it. We were always trying to look for a quick buck. And what addiction or financial problem becomes even greater because I'm not talking to my wife. I don't want her to know that I'm failing behind the scenes, because most men don't tell you it's all right to cry if you don't have XYZ. Most men don't tell you it's okay that you're going to come up short sometimes. We get this fairy tale image as husbands that you have to have the biggest car. You have to have the biggest house. You know, you have to have the biggest clique, in so many words. You have to have the biggest clout, and that's not necessarily true. We have to learn how to build a foundation together. And I keep reverting back to this. When we make that vow before God and we become one, we build together when you're young. Now, I can say like the Suttons, like they were teaching earlier, is because they got together more at a more seasoned date. So it's a little different. When you're younger, you know, all you know is to run around like a chicken with your head cut off, and you're trying to make things happen that you really don't know about. You don't know how to set up a bank account. You don't know how to administer a 401k or stocks and bonds. You don't know how to, you know, put money away. All you know is to spend, or try to gamble. And that's not really how life is, you know. So it's important in finances that we learn how to communicate. We learn how to set aside and say, baby, this is what we're going to do, or let's pray about this is what we need to do. And let's work this, because I can't be thinking left and she's thinking right and God's saying go down the middle, because God gonna get his and we gonna end up failing because we didn't put him first in finances. Maybe if you want to.
In a marriage, when you're dealing with finances, be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest. Communication. Be honest. I know a lot of us were taught, honey, you don't tell him everything. We set ourselves up for failure. Honesty is really the best policy. And if you feel the need that you need to have a separate bank account and that works for you guys, then be honest about it.
Yeah.
Yes, baby, I have this bank account. Or maybe you got married at 45, 50 years old. And you already have some things established. That's absolutely okay. Just be honest about it. Be open and honest about it. As a nurse, I have seen people expire and their spouse has no idea what type their financial situation is, don't know about the life insurance policies they have. You know, they are in the dark. They are in the dark. And I have seen some have to go to the state and hire lawyers because their stuff is in probate.
Yeah.
This is a person they was married to for 40 years. And your money in probate because y'all had separate accounts. Y'all didn't communicate about what was going on. So you don't have to feel this area. Just like you said, communicate, be honest with each other, put all the cards on the table. If you truly love this person, what's wrong with putting your cards on the table? You know, but the key is God will work things together for our good. So if you trust him,
Yeah.
he won't work it all out anyway. So, you know, we can be successful.
Amen. I love it. Communication and honesty, and making sure that the oneness, right? The two become one, even in your finances, right? The two become one in every aspect about you as well. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to ask now, y'all pause for a second because we'll be back around the Johnsons, right? Which one of those topics that you guys want to take a look at and talk to the people about?
Um, can you repeat the topics? Can you repeat the topic?
Absolutely, I sure will.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir, no problem. So we have addictions, we have career and employment issues, conflict, within the household, unresolved conflict. We have a death of a loved one, delusionment, domestic violence.
Okay, well,
Go ahead.
I would say that employment. Just to touch on basically what the Jordans were even just talking about as far as who makes more of, who makes more money of, and I would say that because of Jaquita's where she is in her career, mostly she has made more. I'm just gonna just go ahead and put it out there. Just far as her, I mean, she has like what 5 degrees, and she just and she's already a baller too. So she got it like that. I mean, that's just her. She got it. So when I look at my salary, I'm like, oh, okay. But I mean, you don't want to really look at it that way because like what Mr. Jordan was saying is that that's just position that God has you in, even though I'm still the head of the household. So the way that she comes across to me, it's like, okay, she still comes across to me. She talks to me as if I'm the head, even if the salary is there, and then I'm just looking up, and then it just keeps going higher. I'm like, wow. But then I just like, okay, no, I'm still the head. So she still comes to me and she shows me that respect. Now, what I would say that we're still in the process of in certain aspects of our marriage, we're still trying to balance certain out because as strong as she is, I just need to be able to support, be strong, be mindful of the fact that she's going to have her say. She might have her say in other parts too, and it's like I can't say anything. I can just kind of listen because it's like I probably can give you like a 20-second pause. I probably can give her a 30-second pause, and then I just gotta weigh them. So yeah. So it's just being respectful and just knowing that if you do have a strong woman that got it, knowing that God is going to take care of you regardless, just like He said He was. So that means that eventually, when I got it like that, you're going to have it like that, and that's where you got to look at it.
Well, I think as it relates to career, Daniel is in a second phase. Like he was doing something when we got married, and now he's doing something else. I think as married couple, do something. You know what I mean? Provide something. And just, sometimes, people have backgrounds. You may have somebody that may have a felony background, so they can't get an office job or a regular job. I just think that contributing is very, very, very important. And like he said, regardless of who make what, same account, we got the same goal. And so it's not you make more, this is our money. This is what we're doing. And I just think that that's important. Someone, especially for husbands, to be goal oriented and have somewhere you're trying to get to, because sometimes people just kind of be nonchalant, and oftentimes we, especially as African American women, we kind of go hard. but don't just lay back and be very passive. Have something you're trying to do and have a goal that you're trying to get to, and at least contribute and communicate about money, communicate about your plan. And even though you should have had that talk before, sometimes in life things happen. Daniel was in a car accident that would not allow him to do what he used to do. So boom, we had a whole shift in finances, in the middle, like we were married 2 years. And it's like, okay, so now what? So you sick, you can't do this, you can't, and so you can't contribute right now other than what? What was it, unemployment, but it's something. And work for something, go back to school, figure out what trade you're going to do something. And so that's just kind of important. Have a plan. That's all I'm saying about that.
Okay, awesome. So, have a plan, put a plan in place.
Yeah.
Or
and work the plan.
Yeah, I like that. Work the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Even when sometimes things happen in life and you have to pivot, it doesn't make you less of a man or less of a woman. If from the man perspective, if your spouse, if your wife is making more than you, it doesn't. Again, we talked earlier with the Jordans that you're still the head of your household. So don't allow that to minimize, the king that's in you, the king that you are in your household as well. In addition to that, I love it, make the plan if something happened, because sometimes when things happen and people have to pivot, usually we take the easy route out. We'll take the easy route out. We're ready to leave a situation instead of working through the situation, right? So that we can make it happen. You said something else, and this is just, for those who may be in that situation where, look, your spouse may have a background that does not afford them the opportunity to go and work for somebody else in their place of business, right? In corporate or what have you. Go and develop a business. That's right. Go be an entrepreneur.
That's true.
Right? What's your gift? What's your talent? Let's package that thing right there, right? And let's package it, and let's package it and let's promote it. Let's put it in the marketplace, and let's just do that. Do our part from that perspective as well, so that that we can generate and we can bring forth the dynamic marriages that God needs to bring forth, and doing our perspective roles. So thank you guys. 1 second, I'm going to go here and bring up. Let the Jordans take one of these here, right? Not the Jordans. I'm sorry, the Suttons. I'm sorry, the Suttons. You guys go ahead and take one of those. You should have got it in your inbox, right? As well, those specific topics. So what topic do you guys want to jump in on?
Well, we heard Minister Jordan say they was playing it safe, right? So I don't be putting all our business out here, right? No, so we'll talk about infertility, right? And not really just being infertile, but just not having a child, right? I think that's, for your audience sake, I think that's a that's a hard one, and particularly with people of faith, right? And so with both of us being called of God, called to preach this gospel, and to constantly hear that message over and again about being fruitful and multiplying, and having that kind of all around you often. When we were probably like what, 3 years in, yeah, we started thinking about, next steps with a family, right? And so, of course, we got, so I don't know why people like to give us a lot of advice, but they do. They like us, right? So they gave us a lot of advice, these home remedies, all kinds of things, because y'all know how it is. Like, first, when are you getting married? Now that you are married, when y'all having kids, all that kind of stuff. And so it was just like nonstop. And so behind the scenes, we were like taking it all in stride, but then, it wasn't happening. It just was not happening for us. And so, going through the medical procedures and all that kind of stuff, and, it still wasn't happening. And so it was like, it felt like an affront to our faith. Well, my faith, I'll talk about my part. but it felt like an affront to my faith that, you know, here I am praying to God. We're in this role of baptizing babies, going to baby showers, and it's still not happening for us. You know what I mean? And so, for myself, you know, I started looking at that differently about Abram and Sarah. You know, I was like, because my husband, when we married, he already had a son, right? And so there was a root of bitterness. I mean, just transparently saying that started to form in me because I felt like, you know, you have this son, he has your name, so that's out for us, you know, even if we were. And then I felt like, you know, sometimes I felt like, you know, was there a sin I had committed that, you know, this was a punishment? You know, I went through a lot of emotional, spiritual stuff, right? Just trying to wrap my head around what was this thing not happening for us. And then it made it even more compounding because I'm an only child, right? So my mom was, you know, of course, hopeful because all of her siblings have, you know, they got big families, right? And so here I was again, that weight, like I can't even give my mom a kid, right, in her lifetime, right? And so it was just, I mean, it was a hard place to be, but we came to some place of conclusion. You know, God is kind. He, you know, give us godchildren and all this kind of stuff that I can, you know, have my heartbeat go toward. But I mean, that was just a hard place. And then I felt at sometimes that he just didn't get it, you know, because, you know, to the men here, if you have kids, your children yourself, you know, I don't know everybody's dynamic, but for me, it was just like, you won't ever get what I feel because it's really never happened to you. You know what I mean? But then he had to say, I had the same dreams. I had hopes, you know, myself. So you can talk about your part, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I did understand. I really did understand. Even though I have a son that he is soon to be 21 in October, and graduating from college, and so
now Minister Jordan, he did that early. Okay, we got married late, but he did that early.
Yeah. I haven't always been saved, you know. But you know, there's another life before this life, you know. But yeah, you know, I had a son, and was brought into the marriage, and so but I understood how she feels. But at the same time, regardless of whether it's ministry or whatever, I still wanted a child with her. And it wasn't, you know, just because, you know, I had a son, I still wanted a child with her. You know, here we are as a married couple, you know, I wanted a child. And, you know, it came to this point, you know, about adopting a child, you know, but in my mind, you know, I don't want nobody else's child, right? You know, I mean, you know,
we went through it,
but you know, I want a child with her. But you know, after time have gone by, you know, and we just had to have that, you know, that conversation. Just had to talk about it, you know, and so and I had to make her feel comfortable. She had to make me feel comfortable that we was in a comfortable place, you know, about that situation.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy at all, you know. You know, because I, you know, the baby, if it was a boy, you know, it couldn't have been, you know, Bernard, you know, but you know, it could be a Johnny. Come on, Johnny, you know, yeah. So, or you know, or a girl, you know. So, and mostly I wanted a girl anyway, you know, because I want his Father's Day coming up, and I want the little girl looking up to me and say, "Hey, Daddy," you know. But you know, those are the little fights but looking at it, you know, we always talked about, you know, we had a baby, what type of baby we have a little chunky, you know, little girl, you know, and I was like, you know, and that was in my mind, that was my imagination that, you know, I'll be picking this little chunky girl up, you know, because, you know, she can have anything she want, you know, and Hope will be like, no, she can't, you know, because I'm still, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, we just was something that I had to really go into prayer. I mean, really deep down in prayer about, you know, but because like I said, I was asking question, what's wrong with you, you know, and I'm like, I know it ain't nothing wrong with me, you know, but you know, at the end of the day, I had to really, really go into prayer and at first ask God for forgiveness for even thinking like that. But that is something that we wanted. But at this time, just like you say, you never know. Some might spark up.
I want your hands down. Put your hands down. Start to clapping. Come on, Johnson. Don't be out here by myself. I'll leave you.
Look, Bernard said we keeping hope alive.
Listen, I would preach that text again, like in the old age. We got witness. But in the meantime, God shut his mouth, right?
Just shut his mouth. Listen, I want us to address this issue, and I'm going to bring everybody off mute here because this is something that's really happening. And next week, I have the honor of being able to speak on this particular topic over here in South Africa. They have had since the lockdown, they have had 21 deaths of women who have died from the hands of their husbands.
Ooh.
And some children has been a casualty of this domestic violence.
The casualty of their husbands.
So it is real. It's happening, and it's not just domestic violence. It's a pandemic that it's not just here in South Africa. The president addressed it. It was so horrific that the president addressed it here on Thursday about these women who are losing their lives and the gender violence that's taking place as well. Not too far from right where I am, a young lady who was pregnant was hung. Who she was the father of the child. So, and as we know in America, right, as well, that these type of things are happening. So let's speak to these families that are in these crises, especially with COVID-19, having to now spend time with one another, right? To really to discover even the more. For now, some people have increased in domestic violence in their life, and then there's others who determined, you know what, I really haven't determined that what they thought they liked, they did not.
Right.
So can we speak on that for a moment and speak to those in that situation and give strategies on how to, and not just to the women, but to the men, how to break free from that spirit.
Right. I think it's really the spirit because I really believe that spirit that causes both men and women to commit violence towards the person that they say they love. It's a real thing, and I believe it's a spiritual, mental illness. And I think really the only way is the person that is being abused has to make up in their mind that this is not their best life, that they can do. And sometimes that means separating from that person that you say you love or that says they love you. You know what? I remember when me and Antoine we didn't go well. I ain't gonna lie. I wasn't always right when we was younger. I did hit him, but he never hit me back. Thank God he never hit me back. But I was determined to be a fighter because I saw my mother in our home. She was very complacent and quiet, and my dad was everybody listened. So I was determined that I would not be that woman. So before Antoine could even get the ups on me, I started talking loud, hitting, throwing stuff, just ridiculous. Just really ridiculous. I look back on it now, and he really could have hurt me, but he chose to just walk away. He never put his hands on me. He would pack up his stuff and just leave. And I thank God he chose that. But with that being said, I for me, that was emotional, mental, and spiritual disorder. Rather than me talking, I decided that violence was the answer. If I hit him into obedience, if I hit him or throw stuff to show him I am so mad, I really felt like that was gonna make him change. And what it really did was push him away. And so I think that the person that is being abused, and that's why I say that I'm so
Now, yeah.
huh?
Can you adjust yourself a little with your mic? It's
I'm sorry.
okay, yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Go for it. I'm sorry.
And so that's why I say I'm so glad that he chose to leave the house or whatever instead of fight me back. And then he recognized because he saw what his parents went through, and I'll let him discuss it if he wants. And so he knew that that wasn't the answer. He knew that that was not the right thing to do, and he knew that he would not become an abuser because he saw what his parents went through. So I really think it has to be in the mind of the person that's being abused that this is not the life for me, and I need to separate. And sometimes separation ain't forever. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people just need that to get themselves together. We separated for a few days, but we came back together because it was a mindset change. You also have to realize that you're the person being abused. You have to allow that person to work on them. You can't change nobody. We cannot change people. And so sometimes the best love is leaving. That's the best love. So it takes a lot of prayers to process. I don't think it's just one good answer. But the first thing is recognizing this is not the best life.
Just to kind of piggyback off that shortly, guys. I seen my parents go through knockdown dragouts, like boxing matches, where 1 minute it was love in the home, it was put up your dukes, and I vowed I would never do that. And if I was fortunate enough to be married, I would never do that. So that's really the just of why I wouldn't do it, because I seen that happen. But to answer your question, Darshay, I think what we have to do first is we have to understand our singleness first. We have to prepare ourselves in our singleness before we get married, and then once we get into the marriage, we can address those issues. A lot of times we come into the marriage with baggage that we didn't unload, so we bringing it to the doorstep already. So if I know this is kind of sensitive subject, but if somebody was abused sexually, or if somebody was abused physically as a child or as a teenager, especially women, you know what I mean, growing up, or even men, because it happens to us as men too. By the time we get grown and it hasn't been addressed and we come into the marriage, a lot of those flashbacks come about, and it causes a reaction in us, or it causes an issue in us. And so you have men lashing out because of their past and hurting their wives or women. You have women lashing out because of their past and they're hurting their husbands or their fiancés. And let's not be fooled. It's spiritual warfare. At the end of the day, it's spiritual warfare. And a lot of people, or if I can say this correctly, a lot of people that doesn't have a spiritual foundation with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ think that it's just a carnal thing, and it's not. It's what's on the inside. It's that spiritual fight that we're going through, because the Bible even teaches we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness and principalities and darkness and rulers and wicked places. So we have to understand that this is spiritual warfare. So if we as believers fight spiritually, then we can take care of the physical. So help me, Pastor.
Yeah, got it.
Did anyone wanted to address to add anything to that particular topic?
Yeah, I think that when you're making those decisions, right, having a real strategy is important. I've worked in the social service nonprofit. I had a very good friend of mine, beautiful, educated, an educator herself, and was murdered, right, by her boyfriend. And sometimes times I think, when that spirit, that evil spirit is there, sometimes, there's a seductiveness, and there's a way that, they come in, and before you know it, I mean, you're entrapped. And it was so horrific that, um, we just couldn't believe it, right? We just could not believe that happened to her. And that spirit is so controlling and so manipulative. And we have to call it what it is, like you said. Sir. But I also think that when we're leaving, I've known other women who have worked specifically with domestic violence survivors themselves, who, for whatever reason, didn't change their locks, didn't put, the security at their window, and the person came in and murdered them. And so I would say, while these cases are increasing, the domestic violence, be safe, be smart, make copies of your identification. Do you have a real trusted voice? And I think sometimes we think that the people around us are really for us. But sometimes what happens, what I've experienced, because I work with women like that, is that you think that you can talk to somebody in your family, but if they like your abuser, they're giving the plan to them.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just better to use an agency, somebody who really is vested in you, right? Not attached to this person who's abusing you. And so it can be like gut wrenching, because you may feel like you can't make it by yourself, but you can. And I think when you have children involved, it compounds the matter all the more, because the physical is a part of it, but financial abuse is a part. And so if I'm not able to, have money, get my cell phone or stump my phone, how am I going to even access my Cash App? All of these things are like real considerations. And so, while we want people to leave smartly, leave with your life, the things behind. And so we would tell women, if you just get some in your purse, like, we can supply your basic needs, but leave with your life. And sometimes material stuff that you're trying to hold on to is not your life, And so I would say too, from the perspective of the church, we have to be very careful about how we keep pushing people back together. Because there's a great fallacy with that. And so we would tell them, I think somebody brought about sanctification, and you can save your spouse if you just be upright and be holy. There are some demons, right, that have infiltrated the churches. And so when we don't take time to discern these spirits, who are just constantly, they're coming to the church to work you, but you're sending them back into a war zone, and doing it under the guise of the good book. And so I think that too, those of us who serve in ministry or whatever context, we have to be, asking God to let us really hear what's behind the words, and figuring out how we can best help them. And so, I think a lot of women have, and men too, have suffered, using religion to justify this evil. And so I would just caution all of us, that we don't have a plan in place in our ministry context, a safety plan, get it today, because somebody in your church is going through it. They're going through it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I like to be proactive, and I'm gonna discuss it not from even the merit sake, but a lot of times when we dating these people, we see the red flags, and for whatever reason we ignore red flags. And so I would say, just kind of listen, and if you see them, that anger, you put the anger, or you kind of raise your hand up at me, if you see that, know that it can get worse. So listen. I don't care if he cute, she cute, or whatever. You have to be aware that things can happen. And so when you see that particular flag, just make that a non-negotiable, and just kind of cut that out.
That's good. So we think we're helpers, though, right? So that part,
right. We want to fix it,
trying to save everybody, and that's good Christians and all that kind of stuff. Right. So I think you made a great point about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Listen, there is so much more to talk about on the table. However, we
This
are
was
surely
sweet.
they go quick, right?
He took some medicine.
INC.
Doing the
I
break.
said, we just been engaged.
Oh, onward sleep.
That's what happens when you're engaged in powerful conversation, and in powerful conversation, time just flies.
Right.
And I think, each of you guys, bringing your own personal experiences, to the table, to speak into the lives of others who are maybe considering marriage, or who may be in a marriage right now and are in valley of decisions and trying to figure out which way it is that they need to go. And in prayer that marriages, can that's on the grid, right? That they could be saved, right? That a lifeline was thrown out, so that they can go and get the appropriate guidance that they need, and they can get before the Lord and bring that union before the Lord, so that the Lord can give them the right instructions and the right directions as well that's needed for their lives. So before we go, I'm going to let you guys give a last minute commentary on what it is that you want to speak to that those who are married and who may be struggling.
Just know that God is a healer. That in life and relationships and everything, we go through things, and you're willing and open to be healed. God is able to fix that. He's able to put all those broken pieces back together again if you're willing to work at it. A lot has happened in my marriage, and other than that, I can't believe you're still there. But I'm here, and I'm in the process of being healed, and that God is a healer if you're open and willing to be healed.
Amen.
I would just say trust God above all else. Don't go based on what somebody else,
Right.
how they process went. I never forget when I first got married, I said, if he ever do this or he ever do that, I'm out. Let me tell you, I ate up all of those words. And I was successful. But we had to go through a process. So never say that. Say what God can do. Let him do the work. And then he'll let you know whether you need to run or whether you can stay. So don't base it on nothing else. Trust God.
That's true.
I want to add that leave others out of your marriage.
That's true.
Good call. Good call. Yes.
Others out of your marriage, if they're not married to you, it's between you and God.
That's true, Frank.
Maybe your pastors.
Yeah.
Well, you can talk to a pastor. Make sure you talk to an elder, or have
Yeah.
somebody that you can confide into. But everybody else.
But we
And
talked
make sure that Oh, I'm sorry.
we talked to a pastor, and then next thing we know, our business was the topic of the
Right.
sermon.
That's what I was about to say, sis.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say, sis. You make sure that elder got some Holy Ghost fire and they
That's
doing
it.
what they supposed to do. Somebody, and I'm not bad talking nobody, but I'm
right.
saying be led, by the Spirit on who to talk to and what to talk to them about. Because they'll put your name on the wings of the morning. They be preaching about your situation
That's it.
over the pulpit. And we are covering for each other, and they ain't got no business undoing our covering. So you gotta let the Spirit lead you.
That's true.
Wow.
I don't let. I'm just, amen. Let the church say amen.
Yeah, you got.
We
weren't those pastors. We weren't those
You don't have to sum it up.
I think for me, I just didn't trust anybody. So so I knew I wasn't gonna go tell nobody. I think when hoping I first got married, everyone had that one big fight, and argument, and so I left home, and I went back to my home, and they said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I ain't going back to that house. I ain't staying." My mother, my aunt looked at me, looked me up and down. They said, "Oh boy, you you might well go on back. You just get started." But that let me know, it wasn't that I couldn't trust them, but they let me know, look, you can't bring your problems to me. One, because you're my child, and we're gonna look at things a little different. And so,
Right.
okay, now I get it. So don't go tell nobody. Just you and your spouse and God. Let it work out by itself.
But not in the case of domestic violence. If something's going on,
Yes.
Oh,
Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Almost
Get out of
definitely.
there and get your life.
yeah.
But I would say to that when you are prayerful, right? Because I believe God wants us to win in every area of our lives, right? We did have to have marriage mentors. I mean, period.
Yeah.
So I would say to anybody who's married or thinking about getting married, do the observation. Look at people around you. See who still have joy in their marriage. Who can really tell you the truth. When we first got together, it was my aunt and my uncle, right? My father's deceased. And so I was like, what are we doing? Because people help you prepare for the wedding day, but there's not a lot of preparation for the first 90 days in this new thing, right? And so we were like, what are we doing, right? Because I felt like the enemy was really fighting us because he knew if we really came together on one accord, a lot of transformation could happen. So we came after the pretty pictures and all of that celebration, like we started having like intense warfare about our together. And it wasn't every day, but when it hit hard. And so I would say, consider marriage mentors. And if you're in that place where you just don't want to trust people, find some books. Educate yourself. Do some couples activities, and then have fun. We realized one year we didn't even take a vacation because ministry was just everything. And I was like, we will never do that again, right?
Right.
Or our vacations, in quotations, was all these church conferences, right? And so while we were traveling, it went for our joy. We were always on assignment. And so have fun in your marriage and make time for yourself because your marriage, in our opinion, is your first ministry.
That's right.
I want to piggyback off what you were saying, Sister Sutton. This is something I always, if I get a chance, I try to drop this nugget on people. A lot of people invite God to the wedding, right? Like you were just speaking about the lights, the cameras, the pictures. Nobody invites them to the marriage because after the doors close and it's you and your spouse, whether it's the husband or wife, and the dust settles, then you really get to see. She get to take her wig off. She get to take her cornrows out. You get to take off, whatever it is, and it's just y'all two. And a lot of people fail in that area because everybody likes camera action.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's time for the real action behind the closed doors, like Pastor was saying, when I meet I don't want to talk to nobody else because they're going to put it out there. Like you said, get some books. Or like Johnson was saying, don't be afraid to talk about it. But most importantly of all, be able to talk to your spouse. Not just mom, not just dad, not just sister, not just brother, to your spouse. And one thing I had to learn is because me and my brother's a year apart, my wife had to become my best friend. And that transition was hard because me and my brother, what we went through, I always would confide in him. And, whether we like it or not, your brother, your sister not going to always give you the most sound advice. I guarantee you that, dog, if it was me, excuse my language, woo. And they be the ones that be divorced. They be the ones that's going from relationship to relationship to relationship, and it never works out. So it's key to remember to invite God to the marriage, not just the wedding.
Yeah, that's good.
Amen. That's absolutely powerful. I'm glad that you brought that out about where you're getting the cancel from, because you can even have those who are canceling you, but they cancel you from their womb.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And when they cancel you from their womb, they give you toxic, right? Information, and that's another reason why God has to be the center of your marriage, because even when you're going before those of wise counsel, you don't know that spot in them because we cover up a lot, right? And so you really don't know where the spot is until you begin to listen to conversation, right? And so, and where it all looks good, and in the middle of conversation, you begin to hear counsel that don't so much line up with God, right? Because now their counseling is no longer coming out of the spirit, but you've hit a spot that they're wounded in, and that they need in, and that they need deliverance in, and you got to be able to tell the difference. They can be excellent in certain portions. Like I know that there are some people that certain conversations I just cannot have with them because the wound is so deep that it is venom fit all over, right? But also in the same right, the same individual, I know that there's powerful wisdom that I can go get from them in other areas because that is the area where either they've been healed, delivered, or whatever. There's no scar or no wound that they're operating out of. And so that's another thing, that when you're going for counseling and getting wise counsel, that's why you still got to be undergirded under the Spirit of the Lord.
That's right.
Because when something is spoken that is not aligned with the word of the Lord, the Holy Ghost on the inside of you,
yeah,
it's going to begin to speak. Right? It's going to begin to put at a high attention or a high alert.
Right.
Also, our system that will also let you know, okay, well, this is a hot spot. This is a wound area, so I can't go back and sound counsel here in this particular area. That's why I say a multitude of counsels, right? You need a multitude. I can't go here for this particular topic because it gives the appearance that there's still some things that need to be worked out, right here for them. So I just wanted to add that to it. You guys, this has been a powerful, powerful conversation that we've had on today. It's definitely been time well spent for those who have listened live and for those who will come in and listen to the replay. I believe that what we came here to do on today, right, that it has been accomplished in marriage. So we want to thank you, Sutton, for coming and bringing forth your wisdom. God has let us know what it is to get in high position, in high places, right, in the things that God, high demanding position and places in the things of God, but still making marriage work, making the two become one, right? And the same things with the Zachary, right, in that business and that marketplace of making the marketplace work. We can be married and be in the marketplace and still stand as one and help support each other, right, in our respective places, in where our strengths are, as well help each other grow and develop in those places of opportunities as well. And so we absolutely love that. People, we need to understand that, listen, not only do he call us to ministry, but yes, in that marketplace as well. And so how do we come as one in the marketplace and use our gifts and talents to help that ministry, the marketplace ministry, thrive, right, in the things of the Lord. So we bless you guys for that. And the Jordans, we just thank you guys also for showing up, in the space and being transparent and showing us how the two becomes one in ministry, right, in the marriage, and how to bring forth clarity and what's needed, right, so that you two can step in that place of oneness in the dreams and the visions and the goals and the aspirations that God has placed in one's heart, so that you guys can move in the agenda of God. In the name of Jesus, glory to God. And so we want to thank everybody for joining us, and even those in the replay. You guys have been phenomenal. You guys have been amazing, and we thank God for the gift that's on the inside of you. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us in the Relationship Matter Uncover Series, Marriage Edition. I am Dr. Deron Zorn, your Kingdom Strategist, here to build strategies so that you may birth and expand in your goals and your destiny. I have individuals, ministries, and businesses with radical solutions so that they may increase their market reach and their income potential. You guys have an amazing day, and we will see you.
Can I say something before we go?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sister and Brother Johnson, we are sorry we were late. We're gonna watch the replay. We didn't catch all of the broadcasts. We came on at 1 p.m. Central Time. Don't charge my wife, charge me, because I'm not. I'll take the blunt. I'm so sorry. because this stuff it helps us too. Even though being married 22 years, it's good to have somebody's other experiences and to learn from the bottom of our hearts. We are sorry. We came in at one certain time. It should have been Easter.
We didn't even know. You good to go.
Thank you so much. Please forgive us.
No words. Thank you for your words of wisdom.
Everybody was great.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Can't wait to connect, y'all.
Oh.